very much, Darren. It is a beautiful night for football in southern Manitoba. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers won the toss and deferred their choice to the second half, so the Hamilton Ticats will receive to open this football game. And Glenn, all season long we've had nice weather the day before the game and lousy weather the day of. Yesterday we got the bad weather. Tonight it's gorgeous in contrast to last week.
Finally the thunderstorms aren't following us to game day. This is the first beautiful day, and these are two great teams in a very important matchup. This game is crucial for both teams.
And Cal Murphy giving us some smiles on the sidelines. You won't likely see it from Don Southern. Troy Westwood, the left footer, kicks it off, and we are underway in Winnipeg. This is Larry Thompson with flags down. Thompson is down at the 34-yard line, and the initial indication is that it is against the Hamilton Ticats. The referee tonight is Bud Steen. It was a 12-yard return, but it will be negated by an illegal block. And Bud Steen brings him back as Steve Taylor gets set to go to work for the Hamilton Ticats. The starting lineups for the game brought to you by Mr. Sub. Fresh thinking is what we are. The offensive line remains intact for the Hamilton Ticats, and the receiving core is led by Earl Winfield, the second leading receiver in the Canadian Football League. With Taylor at the controls, Kalen Hall's back, as Darren mentioned, with Lee Knight in the backfield. Penalty moved the Ticats back to the 16-yard line. First carry for Kalen Hall. And not much doing for him. A gain of perhaps one on the play as he stopped by Leonard Johnson. The Bomber defense, well, linebacking has always been a strength for this team. There's one change up front. Leonard Johnson draws in as Tony Hill suffered a knee injury and may miss the rest of the season. And the defensive backfield features four first-year players. Jerron Bolden, who has 4 interceptions, is back in the lineup after missing the last game with a quad pull. Second down for Taylor, goes to the far sideline, has Larry Thompson, and the former Bomber has a first down for the Ticats up to the 35-yard line.
Larry Thompson said in practice yesterday he feels really comfortable, of course, having over 1,000 yards here with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers their first couple years ago, and he just runs the out, makes a nice move on Bolden, who's just making his return to this Winnipeg lineup after suffering the quad injury.
Pickup was 18 yards. First down, Hamilton at the Ticat 35. Taylor swings it out for Kalen Hall. Hall's got blockers in front of him and gets out to the 44-yard line. He's finally stopped by Greg Clark. Hall, of course, was clocked last week by Leonard Nelson in that game against the San Antonio Texans.
Missed all that game after that hit, but what a day we have here in Winnipeg. Finally, a nice day for game night.
Usually when you and I show up in a city for a game, people start building an ark.
Not tonight.
It was a first down for Kalen Hall out to the Hamilton 45. Here comes the blitz. Taylor's under pressure. Taylor gets it away to Winfield, and he was out of bounds when he made the catch right in front of the Winnipeg bench, and the Bombers were anxious to help him make the call as they got lots of pressure on Steve Taylor.
Yeah, Cal Murphy going with the blitz with Randolph, and Steve Taylor will give you this dimension on your offense. So the ability to scramble and get out of trouble. You see Hawking coming from the outside and Randolph coming late and putting the hit on Taylor, but a nice job, and that's what he gives you, that extra ability to buy a little bit of time and find that open receiver.
On second down, Taylor's under pressure again. This time he'll run. And Taylor close to a first down as he crosses midfield and gets to the Winnipeg 52-yard line. The stop made by Shannon Garrett, but the elusiveness of Steve Taylor gets a gain of 13 and a Hamilton first down.
I know Don Southern's going to have mixed emotions about this play. Taylor's going to drop back, not see what he wants in the coverage downfield, so he has to find it on his own. He scrambles to his right, and then this is the part the Southern's going to have some mixed feelings. He puts his head down, gets the first down. He probably loves the toughness, but he doesn't want to get his quarterback hurt either.
Hamilton into Winnipeg territory. 4 receivers to the wide side of the field, but flags are down. Procedure is the call against the Ticats.
Illegal procedure. Hamilton 66. First down repeated.
Blaine Schmidt is called for illegal procedure. The 9-year veteran who celebrated his 32nd birthday 2 days ago.
And you know what they were setting up there? You saw earlier already the hit screen to Kalen Hall to the right side. They put all those receivers to one side of the field. It looked like that time they were going to fake it and get the one-on-one with Earl Winfield on the other side. We'll have to watch for that later in the game.
1st and 15. Taylor has time. Brings the ball down, and he's in trouble now, and he is dropped. Ken Burris on the halfback blitz finished him off. But it was Kelly Rush, number 90, who first got in his face.
Ken Burris coming from his halfback position on the backside. Taylor doesn't know he's there. He buys a little time with the pump fake right there on Burris, and they tell you when you're blitzing, never leave your feet, because that can happen right there, but Burris keeps with it. Gets a little help from Kelly Rush and gets the first sack of the ball game.
And now it's 2nd and 26. Screen pass for Kalen Hall. He's got a long way to go, and Stan Mikowas makes sure he doesn't get there. Mikowas and Leonard Johnson off the gain of 8. Kalen Hall will come up 18 yards short of a Hamilton first down, and the Ticats, after the penalty and the sack, are all the way back to their own 50.
Now, Ticats had a little bit of penalty problems there, which is why they threw the ball. But you saw when they first got the ball after the kickoff, they wanted to establish that running game. Right now, they're 10th in the CFL in rushing the football. And with a guy like Kalen Hall, you want to improve in that category.
Paul Osbaldiston, the CFL's leading punter in net punting, 41.8 net when you take off the return. And he gets a low driving kick away. Ken Burris sees it bounce down at the 8. Now he's touched the football, I believe, and he's still trying to corral it. Burris does, and Paul Osbaldiston comes up with a long rolling single, 69 yards for the game's first point. That's not the first time we've seen Ken Burris have trouble corralling a kick. Sean Moore gets his first start at quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He was a 51% passer for the Ottawa Rough Riders. And the starting lineup for Winnipeg once again features Miles Garrell at right tackle, taking the place of Chris Walby. Again, Alan Boyko at wide receiver. David Williams released this week by Winnipeg. On first down, the give is to Blaze Bryant, and Bryant gets up for 5 yards. Stop is made by Jesse Small. That'll bring up 2nd down and 5. The Ticats play a 4-3 defense with Jesse Small at the rush end position. And Michael O'Shea, the CFL's 2nd leading tackler, anchoring in the middle. Eric Carter, the left corner, leads the CFL with 5 interceptions. On 2nd and 5, Moore. Lots of time initially. Flags are down. Moore has a first down as he gets out to the 52-yard line. But it would appear that the penalty is against Winnipeg.
Right in that holding zone. Looks like that will be the penalty.
Holding. Winnipeg number 65. 2nd down repeated.
Jim Smurl, 2nd-year man, is a native of Winnipeg, played his university football at the University of Manitoba. He is called for holding. He draws into the lineup off the practice roster. When Chris Walby got hurt, Miles Garrell moved back to right tackle, and Smurl took his spot at the right guard.
Not really fair to Smurl. When Walby comes out, you really need to replace him with 2 guys.
Now 2nd and long for the Bombers. Moore has time again, gets outside, and now he'll run. He needs the 45, and it looks like Sean Moore has a Winnipeg first down.
That's what you're going to see from a young quarterback. If he doesn't like what he sees down the field, he's going to take off and run. Sean Moore's got great ability. He'll stand in there till the very end to take that hit to get the completion, but good coverage downfield by Hamilton, and he has to take off and does a nice job getting the first down.
The gain was 16 yards, and it is a Winnipeg first down. Toss goes to Blaze Bryant. Bryant trying to find some room to the outside. outside. Gets out to the 50-yard line for a gain of 3.
They'd dearly love to have Blaze Bryant get back to his 1994 performance where he was over 1,200 yards, third in the CFL in rushing. And boy, Winnipeg has struggled in their running game this year.
Winnipeg comes into this game 11th in the CFL out of 13 teams running the football. Remember, this is the team that's had the league rushing champion 5 of the last 8 years. And too much time. It sounded like Moore was trying to change the play at the line of scrimmage. And the ball was snapped after the 20-second clock had expired. And Cal Murphy's seen that a time or two this year.
He sure was trying to change the play. It was an audible at the line. You could see the formation changing, and Sean Moore just couldn't keep his eye on the clock and the defense and gets called for taking too long. But it's nice to see the youngster reading the defenses and making changes.
On second down, Moore almost intercepted. He was looking there for Tim Daniel, and Eric Carter, whose 5 interceptions lead the league, almost had his 6th. So Sean Moore backed up John Elway for 4 years in Denver. We'll head to the sidelines and talk it over with Reggie Slack and Cal Murphy.
Bob Cameron doesn't have to punt into a downpour and wind gust tonight. It's a beautiful day for Bob Cameron to do his kicking. Bob Cameron won the Heck Crichton Trophy as the outstanding university football player in Canada in 1976. He's the only Heck Crichton Trophy winner playing in the CFL right now. The Canadian Rifle. That's right, from a KDU. And Cameron gets a great punt away. This is Wally Zatilny from the 21. And Zatilny, just back from a knee injury that caused him to miss 7 games, gets a return of 4. Back with more from Winnipeg unless they're on the other foot. Last year, the Ticats were 2-6. This year, they're 6-2. Last year, 5-3. This year, 3-5. Both teams have exactly changed spots. Yeah, you know, part of the reason for the Ticats is the acquisition of a couple of guys from the Las Vegas Posse. I think, of course, Kalen Hall and Anthony Calvillo. And for Winnipeg, the loss of Matt Dunnigan didn't help much. Hall is the lone setback. He takes the handoff from Taylor and fights for maybe 3 yards. And again, it was the veteran nose guard, Stan Mikowas, number 77, who helped stop him, along with number 95, Leonard Johnson. You mentioned the Vegas connection, and Kalen Hall was a guy that you saw early in the year last year. In one of the 2 games that he played in last year, we happened to be one of them, and he did a number on us. He had well over 100 yards. In fact, in the 2 games he played for Vegas, 214 yards last year. They need to get him involved. He's had some injury problems, but if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a great one. Second down. Here comes Taylor. Sidearms it to Winfield, and Winfield is close to a Hamilton first down as he gets out to the 34-yard line. But on that play, Steve Taylor looked very much like his offensive coordinator, Dieter Brock, the way he sidearmed that one. Shannon Garrett is playing what's called a cushion coverage in man-to-man. He's staying off and giving Earl Winfield some room. Now, you're saying, why did he give him that much room? Well, because he's Earl Winfield. He's got 802 yards receiving this year. You got to give him a little bit of respect, and Winfield runs the out. Earl Winfield has nearly as many yards receiving as the Bombers' 4 starters tonight. That's amazing right there. If he could stay healthy, what kind of numbers can he put up? Earl Winfield, in his years playing in the CFL, has only played 18 games 1 time. If he could finish all 18, this guy's going to put up some huge numbers. Just short of a first down. And Steve Taylor goes straight ahead. You may have seen on Earl Winfield's helmet, in fact, all the Hamilton helmets, the name Scotty. That's in memory of Scotty Wright, a longtime player and equipment manager in Hamilton who passed away prior to the Shreveport game on August the 11th. So the Ticats wear that name on the back of their helmets to honor him. Steve Taylor picks up the first down for the Ticats out to their own 36-yard line. And Earl Winfield is the man for Steve Taylor. He's caught touchdown passes in 7 of the Ticats' 8 games this year. From the shotgun, they fake to Hall. And now Taylor, long
throw and over the head of the intended target, Larry Thompson.
So far, Steve Taylor's had to play under quite a bit of pressure in this football game. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers going with some halfback blitzing, linebacker blitzing. We've seen Paul Randolph and Doug Hawking in there. That time, Dale Lyles put some pressure on Taylor, but he's handling it well, using his athletic ability to buy some time and find those receivers downfield.
Now 2nd and 10 for the Ticats, and the wind, if any, is with them here in the first quarter. Taylor again from the shotgun, looking deep for Winfield, and Winfield got away from Shannon Garrett, and there might have been a little bit of a push there, but I'll tell you what, Earl Winfield has mastered that little push.
He sure has, you know, and that's a good no call, though, by the officials either way. I know a lot of the Hamilton fans are probably thinking that should have been a little interference because they're hand fighting. They're in man-to-man, and Garrett just running down in the hip of Winfield, little hand fighting. You see that little push by Earl to get a little separation from the defensive back. So that happens on every play, and a good no call by the official.
Earl was showing me yesterday how he does that.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Paulus Ballason's second punt of the game is another low driving kick. This time to Daniel back at the 20, and Tim Daniel got whacked. He got hit by Pete Gimtopoulos on the 25-yard line. Flags are down as well. We're sorted out when we come back to the Football League. In 1973, he was Ralph. But Dieter Brock, as he's better known as the Bombers' all-time leader in passes, completions, touchdowns, and yardage, inducted this year into the CFL Hall of Fame. Brock last met the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, rather, in the Grey Cup game in 1984, but his best years were here in Winnipeg, although his departure was less than friendly when he said on the way out, once you've been to the zoo, what else is there to do in Winnipeg? And Dieter was laughing about that before the game, saying he was expecting perhaps a rough ride from the East Side fans here in Winnipeg, who a number of whom have animal masks on to commemorate the zoo comment. On first down for Sean Moore, the penalty was against the Bombers. All the way back to the 14-yard line and pushed them, and that's about where Moore got as he went out of bounds.
You know, I remember Dieter Brock used to have a weighted football. The thing weighed about 20 pounds, and he used to train with that football, throwing it down the field, and then when he got to pick up the real football, he could throw that ball like a dart.
Dieter Brock can still sling the rock. We saw him playing catch before the game with Terry Greer, another one of the Hamilton assistants. 4th all-time on the career touchdown list. 2nd down for Sean Moore. Shovel pass ahead for Blaze Bryant. And Bryant gets back to the 15-yard line. Blaze Bryant had a memorable game against the Ticats last year. It was the 3rd best rushing performance in Canadian Football League history, as Bryant torched the Hamilton Ticats, who were much weaker on defense at the time, for 249 yards in one game.
Yeah, you know he can get it done, and this year he really hasn't been able to. Part of the problem with that, though, has been some inconsistencies in the offensive line for Winnipeg. They've had to make some changes through injuries, and a good running back will always tell you, I'm only as good as my offensive line block for me.
Bob Cameron back at his own goal line to punt this away. Derek Greer and Wally Zatilny are back deep for the Ticats. Zatilny from his own 50. And Zatilny is tripped up immediately by K.D. Williams, who leads the Bombers in special teams tackles. A 45-yard punt, a return of 1. Years ago, he was the CFL's most valuable player. Tomorrow, Tracy Ham will meet one of his former teams as the Toronto Argonauts visit the Baltimore Stallions at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific on the CFL Live on TSN.
Opportunity for the Argos to turn things around in their season. They desperately need a win, and to go in and get Baltimore, that would be a huge lift for that team.
Don Sutherland's team has had the football for most of this first quarter, but leads only 1-0 on a single by Paulus Ballaston. Taylor on first down from the shotgun. Here comes the rush. He gets it away for Lee Knight. And Knight puts his head down and and takes big Del Lyles for a ride and picks up a Hamilton first down at the Winnipeg 48-yard line.
Winnipeg going with blitz. Doesn't matter if it's first down or second down, and they send 2 linebackers this time. Watch the hit that Steve Taylor's going to take after he delivers the ball. And believe me, those ones add up after a while.
Gain was 12 for Knight. First down, Ticats. Taylor out for Winfield, working one-on-one with Garrett. Winfield got away from Garrett, but Ken Burris came over to help and limit the gain to 7 yards.
And there's 2 ways to beat a blitz. One is to draw or screen against the blitz. The other is to release the ball quickly. That time Taylor got it out to Winfield in the flat and got the ball out of there before the blitz could take effect.
Last week, Earl Winfield got his 74th career touchdown pass. His next will tie him with Ray Elgart for 14th on the CFL's all-time list. Here's Kalen Hall. Off tackle goes Hall and gets a gain of about 4 yards. Should be good enough for a Hamilton first down. And the Ticats run the ball not badly, but they throw the ball well. And the other thing, they don't fumble it much. Their 11 fumbles are the fewest in the CFL.
Yeah, and on the other side of the field, the fumble problems a little bit for Winnipeg, but we saw that rain last week is not going to help with all the conditions for fumbling the football. That was part of the problem for Winnipeg.
It was a first down. Taylor stands in and delivers, and Thompson almost made the great one-handed catch, working on Jerron Bolden.
Well, I'll tell you, it was not necessarily the catch. I mean, he always came up with that, but what a move to just get open there. He gave him a little stutter step as the ball was in flight, and Jerron Bolden making his return. And a bit of a size mismatch because Bolden is at 6'2", but this guy feels like he can beat him at any given time.
He was the Bomber MVP in 1992. On second down, here comes the blitz. Look out, Taylor's down. Oh, man. Did Steve Taylor get leveled by Del Lyles?
I'm surprised that Steve Taylor even got up after that hit. Del Lyles is coming from the left of your screen, untouched, and gets right in the middle of the back of Steve Taylor. It's amazing that they even got that ball back, and Steve Taylor's able to take himself to the sideline. What happened is Kalen Hall was assigned to pick up Lyles coming from the backside and just missed his assignment, got up in the line of scrimmage. Del Lyles comes free, and wow, at 6'1", 225 pounds, that's going to get your quarterback killed.
I didn't see it. I didn't hear a fumble.
Del Lyles leads the Bombers with 5 sacks, and now another good kick by Osbaldiston. Tim Daniel will simply let it roll through the end zone. And so Osbaldiston has a 68-yard single, and he has all the Ticats points as the first quarter to see. Numbers through the first 15 minutes. How about 2 yards passing for Sean Moore and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Just 25 net yards, but despite the wide advantage they had numerically, the Ticats lead the game only by a score of 2-0. And a lot of teams in the CFL have complained about their travel schedules this year, but the Ticats can't. Yesterday, they got in a plane for the first time since July the 15th. Their previous road game before that had been against Toronto, and that's only an hour up the road. Bombers begin the second quarter, 1st and 10 from their 35. Sean Moore's looking deep. He's got a man, and Alvin almost made the catch. Don Robinson was all over him, and Alvin wants the penalty, but he won't get it.
Don Robinson came up with a huge play there for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and I'll tell you why, because Brian McCurdy from the free safety position was late getting back to the middle and then committed himself to Wilcox. That left the middle of the field wide open, and Don Robinson had to come up and make the big play, or Alphonse to the races.
He got the face mask here by the look of it.
He sure did. The officials missed that one, but big play by Don Robinson with no safety help.
Moore on second down. He's in trouble. He is down. Sacked on the play by Jesse Small, who gets his 5th sack of the year. And so once again, the Bomber punting unit will take the field.
7 sacks with Ottawa last year. And you see Jesse Small working from the top of your screen. Number 97 just makes an inside move and what's called the swim. That's when you bring your right hand up and over the offensive lineman, who happened to be Kenny Brown on the play, and gets his 5th sack of the season.
The loss was 10 yards, and Bob Cameron is back to his own 10-yard line. Derek Greer and Wally Zatilny are back to receive. End over end kick to Zatilny at the 46, and Wally Zatilny puts his head down, gets out close to midfield as he stopped at the Hamilton 54-yard line. And the tackle made by one of the CFL's best special teams players, linebacker Brendan Rogers.
3 years in a row, Brendan Rogers has led the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in special teams tackles, and look at the intensity in his eyes coming down the field. Special teams is 100% desire. You just got to want to do it, and Brendan Rogers definitely does.
1st and 10, the give is to Kalen Hall. Hall across midfield and inside. Kalen Hall still going. And Hall all the way down to the 22-yard line before he's finally stopped by defensive lineman Leonard Johnson. The gain is 40 yards for Hall.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers going into last week's game versus the BC Lions had trouble stopping the run. Then they came up with a big performance, but Kalen Hall finally getting out in some open field, and when he gets in the open field, he's like a Corey Philpott type of runner. He's got great speed and quickness.
Winnipeg, with the worst run defense in the league, gets burned there for a gain of 40. From the shotgun, Taylor for Larry Thompson. Thompson waits for blocks and gets down to the 6. He should have another Hamilton 1st down on the receiver screen.
Larry Thompson is one of the toughest receivers that I know of to go into the middle where all the linebackers, he's going to run the hitch screen, catch the ball, and he has no fear coming into the middle. I'll tell you a little story about that. Is that 1993, of course, Larry Thompson was in a shooting incident, and I said, you know, there was lots of guns and everything, shots going into his house. He said, going over the middle is no problem after you've had to run through a sea of bullets.
1st and goal, the pass for Thompson. Jerron Bolden picked it off. Oh, what an interception by Jerron Bolden. His step of the year ties him for the league lead. Big defensive play by Jerron Bolden, and the Ticats are again turned away. Bolden with his 5th interception of the year in just his 5th game of the season, and what a grab it was.
Sure was. He has world-class speed. That's what they like about him. He runs a 10-300 meters, but that's not bad hands for a defensive back. The one-hand stab by Jerron Bolden, and the celebration begins for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Steve Taylor, though, wasn't nearly as excited.
Well, no, because you get your offense down there, you want to come away with at least 3 points, and Winnipeg bent but didn't break.
We talked about how rarely the Ticats fumble, but that's their league-leading 18th interception of the season. Now it's up to the Bombers to take advantage. More for Tim Daniel. He got by the first man, and Tim Daniel all the way out to the 49-yard line. A pickup, 24 yards. He was finally forced out of bounds by Brian McCurdy. And now we've got pushing and shoving over at the bench.
Nothing fancy about this play. Sean Moore's just going to throw the hitch pass to Daniel, who just makes a little sidestep move on Eric Carter to pick up the 1st down. He made some big catches last week in the rainstorm against BC for Winnipeg and is really coming into his own as a receiver.
He has fond memories of the Ticats from last year. He had a 102-yard punt return for a touchdown against them. 12 minutes to play in the 1st half. 1st down Winnipeg from the Bomber 49. More for Blaze Bryant. And Eric Carter wasn't fooled that time. He throws Bryant down after a pickup of 4.
A lot of times with these ball-hawking defensive secondary for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, they're up there in interceptions, I believe 2nd in the league for team interceptions. And sometimes that'll also lead to some problems. You'll take gambles on the football when maybe you should just play the man. So Winnipeg definitely going to want to take advantage of that.
More on 2nd down. Out of the backfield for Chris Johnstone, and he was covered quickly by middle linebacker Mike O'Shea. And no chance for Johnstone to make this catch there, as the emerging star for the Ticats, Michael O'Shea, makes the stop.
We talked to Don Southern about his linebacker, Michael O'Shea, and he says he reminds him of a Danny Bass. And just to be in the same category as a player like that, you got to think that he's pretty happy with his performance. Good speed to the outside to cover Johnston in the backfield. Michael O'Shea's projections right now, 114 tackles on the air. Not too shabby.
Bob Cameron to punt it away. Good kick by Cameron. Zatilny will let it bounce into the end zone. And now he'll try to draw a no yards goal, but he cannot. So the Bombers are on the board in this goaltenders duel. 10:51 to play in the second quarter. The Ticats lead it 2-1. Back in Winnipeg, where the story is this: Paulus Balderson has 2 singles on punts. Steve Taylor has thrown for 74 yards, but the one time he went to the end zone, it was picked off by Jerron Bolden. First and 10 Ticats from their 35. They fake to Kalen Hall, and Taylor gets away. And Steve Taylor's got all kinds of room. The Ticat quarterback all the way out to the Hamilton 53-yard line. And Taylor with a gain of 18 yards and a Hamilton first down.
We talked about Taylor's ability to scramble earlier in the first quarter. Watch what he does to Doug Hawking. Hawking has a pretty good angle on the outside right initially, but Taylor with the great speed to get out there and outrun the angle and then get into the secondary.
Moving the ball hasn't been a problem for the Ticats. Putting it in the end zone tonight has. First down, Taylor, sideline Winfield, and the ball came out as Winfield was well covered on the play by first-year man Shannon Garrett.
Shannon Garrett did the next best thing to an interception. When your receiver catches the pass as a defensive back, you got to, first of all, you look for the ball. If you can't make the interception, you go for the tackle, but you always want to go for that strip. And that's the right hand you saw of Garrett. He reaches up for Winfield's right arm and strips that football out of there.
Now on second down, Taylor moves in and then back into the shotgun. Here comes the pressure. Taylor has a man. Thompson makes the catch. And now Jerron Bolden tries to stop him, and look at Thompson fight him off and lunge down to the 1. And now we've got a late flag down to the play, as Manny Hazard came in there late as well. And we'll see what the call is, but what an effort by Larry Thompson as he worked on the much bigger Jerron Bolden.
Larry Thompson, before the game, boldly predicted to me.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Hamilton number 81.
Larry Thompson boldly predicted to me that he wanted 2 touchdowns and would score 2 touchdowns in this game. Here he is right here working on Bolden right here. It's in a man-to-man defense. Steve Taylor had called an audible at the line of scrimmage. Bolden trying to rely a little too much on his speed. Thompson gets in behind. He has great speed in himself. And then the fight is on to the end zone. And Thompson, one of the toughest receivers in the Canadian Football League. And here he nearly comes in.
You saw Hazard come in late. Unnecessary roughness puts the Ticats back to the 17-yard line. Flags are down again. Taylor's under pressure. Back over the middle. Thompson, touchdown. Now the question, will Thompson's first touchdown catch of the year stand? Yes, offside is the call against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And so Larry Thompson, a big part of that drive, has the 17-yard touchdown catch for the Hamilton Ticats.
Offside, Winnipeg 9, penalties declined, Winnipeg 7.
Kelly Rush was offside from the right side of the screen there, but you see Steve Taylor looking back across the middle. Actually, Larry Thompson is his 3rd receiver in the league. Good poise by Taylor to look back to his 3rd read and find Thompson, who scores his first touchdown, 1 away from his prediction he gave me at the beginning of the game.
And he's still got more than a half to play. Paulus Balderson on now for the point after.
5 seconds.
Balderson Allison puts it up and through. And the Hamilton Ticats have a 9-1 lead over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 92, Larry Thompson had 1,200 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns for the Bombers. He's got his first reception of the season against them tonight.
Pretty good time for that Hamilton offensive line, and then Taylor just has the poise and goes back over the middle to Thompson.
Paulus Ballison kicks it off. This is Burris. And Burris with some room. Ken Burris still going. Gets all the way out to the Winnipeg 50-yard line. A 55-yard kickoff and return of 30. The scoring drive brought to you by Natural Ice Lip Balm. 4 plays, 75 yards. Larry Thompson actually accounted for 58 yards of it, minus 15 for the late penalty to Manny Hazard.
Don Southern, one of the many coaches that wanted Larry Thompson in his lineup. We actually talked to Cal Murphy. He said he wanted to have Thompson as well. They both have very high opinions of number 88.
Here's the give to Blaze Bryant. Chris Johnstone leading the blocking in front of him, and Bryant gets across midfield to the 53 for a gain of 7.
Nice hole opened up on the left side of that offensive line for Winnipeg by Kenny Brown and Tracy Boyd to give Bryant that opening.
Interesting that Blaze Bryant played his college football at Iowa State, and of course their arch rival there was Iowa, and the running back for the Hawkeyes then was Mike Saunders. Now it's San Antonio. On second down, back to Bryant. He's got a first down as he gets down to the Hamilton 48-yard line. Best ball movement of the game so far for Winnipeg. The gain is 10.
What you don't want to have happen is get one of your offensive linemen onto your linebackers. And right now, Dave Van Conant gets right out onto O'Shea after he snaps the football and just opens up a gaping hole for Blaze Bryant to hit. But that's a Winnipeg Blue Bomber offensive line that we're used to. The hole's big enough to drive the truck through.
Just the third first down of the game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Hamilton has allowed the fewest first downs in the league this year.
You take the shot in behind there, you saw Dave Van.
And he slowly makes his way to the bench.
Interesting about Marcus Cotton. How about this? He's from LA. 8 kids in his family. Wow.
And Cotton appears to be all right. His place is taken by Lou Cafazzo, a Hamilton native.
By the way, he was the youngest of the 8, so you know he was doing a lot of fighting for the ball in that family wrestling match.
And for meals, too. First and 10 Bombers from the 43. Again, they go to the ground, and Blaze Bryant this time is stacked up quickly as he's stopped there by Sean Smith, number 95, and Mike Campbell, number 98.
Yeah, you're going to see Mike Campbell right here coming right through the screen. Now, if Van Conant is going to go and work on O'Shea, then Campbell's going to be wide open. We'll take a look at him coming through and making the play on Blaze Bryant right there up the middle.
No gain on the play. It's 2nd and 10. Quarterback draw for Sean Moore. Great call. And Moore gets down to the 25-yard line. A Bomber first down. And a gain of 17 yards.
You're going to see Sean Moore on the play with a really nice call like you pointed out. Here he is. He's going to take one step back and then hit the gap. He pre-reads where exactly he wants to go on the play. And a really nice call on 2nd and 10 as it opens wide up. He goes in behind the big center and Dave Van Conant. And nice first down for Winnipeg.
From the 25, Blaze Bryant gets 4 tough yards down to the 21-yard line. You see again pushing and shoving between the Bombers and Ticats, and it doesn't matter who's wearing the uniforms. There's always been bad blood between these two.
Always a great game when these two meet. It's interesting to see, though, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers getting that rushing game going. 10th in the league coming into this game, and you know with this team, Cal Murphy wants to keep the ball on the ground. It opens up the passing game when you can do it.
5.5 minutes to play. In the opening half, Moore flags her down, gives it off to Blaze Bryant. Bryant needed the 15 for the first down. He got down to the 12. And we'll see what the call is. And field goal kicking has been a problem for Winnipeg. Should the field goal unit be called upon here? as we await the call from referee Bud Steen.
Well, if it's against Winnipeg, they're going to get second down again if the penalty is accepted, but
looks like the Bombers will be moving back.
Illegal procedure. Winnipeg, number 9. Second down repeated.
Sean Moore is called for illegal procedure.
Some people wonder, how does the quarterback get an illegal procedure call? Well, what can happen is you can be deliberately trying to draw the defense offside by bobbing your head and moving your shoulders forward, and obviously Sean Moore got caught there.
Now 2nd and 11 from the 27-yard line. Moore, lots of time, delivers a one-hopper over the middle. He was looking there for Gerald Wilcox. That's the first pass that's been thrown in his direction. It's incomplete, but the crowd's cheering because there's a penalty coming against Hamilton.
I believe we're going to get a late hit.
Major foul, roughing the quarterback. Hamilton, 99. First down, Winnipeg.
Michael Philbrick, the third-year man out of Carleton, who's had a pretty good year, gets called for the late hit.
Nice job on Jesse Small there, and Philbrick comes in a little bit late. That's a questionable one, but these officials definitely want to protect the quarterbacks, and in the case of Winnipeg, they cannot afford to lose another one.
On first down, option. And here comes Bryant around the corner, but nothing doing as Sean Smith saw that coming all the way. And Smith, who played his college football at San Diego State, has seen the option a time or two.
Now, in the option play, everyone is designated to a player. The defensive end has quarterback. He comes up, he pitches it out to Blaze Bryant, and then it's up to the linebacker. And Sean Smith showing great speed, getting all the way to the sideline to corral Blaze Bryant and get him out of bounds.
Gain of 1. Here comes Moore, looking backside. He is dropped. Sean Moore sacked on the play by a group of Ticats. Mike Campbell finished it off. And Cal Murphy sees his team allow its league-leading 31st sack of the year.
And I'll tell you why it happens. This is Don Southern's ability to watch the film and come prepared. He double covers the slots. When Winnipeg gets down there, they want to go to their 2 slots. He double covers them, and that has to hang on to the ball. Moore has to hold on.
Troy Westwood from the 27. He's missed 9 of his last 16 field goal attempts. But Westwood puts this one through. And the Bombers pull a little closer. 9-4 is now the score in favor of Hamilton. Interesting story about Troy Westwood. His holder is Bob Cameron, who renovates houses. And Cameron has renovated a house. He's gonna rent it out to Troy Westwood. He says if he misses, Bob said though, if Westwood misses a rent payment, he'll get the old Lucy hole. You know, whoops, sorry about that. Just like Charlie Brown used to get. Ticats lead by 5. Steve Taylor trying the out and up, and he's got his man open. What a grab by Manny Hazard. No. Hazard dove for it, had it for a moment, but couldn't hang on as they tried the out and up.
Again, coaching sets this one up because Taylor has gone to the hitch screen to Larry Thompson a couple of times. This time he fakes it, and Hazard takes on down the sideline. You saw Hazard having a great game in San Antonio. Looked like he really made the catch because, you know, the ground cannot make you fumble the football. You see Taylor taking another one of those hits after he throws the ball, but that was a close one.
That was a catch.
Looked like a catch.
Second down. Here comes the blitz. Taylor's in trouble, and he is sacked. Paul Randolph with his 2nd sack of the year. And there was just nowhere for Steve Taylor to go.
Paul Randolph came up with one of the biggest plays of last week's game for Winnipeg versus the BC Lions, causing a fumble late. He comes in free. Val St. Germain and Doug Davies over there misses him, but he comes in free and uses that quickness to run Steve Taylor down. But what a big play last week, causing that fumble late in the game, and that was really what iced it for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And they call him Mr. Winnipeg here. He does it all for the Bombers.
Boy, he didn't win a pageant or something? That'll be some swimsuit competition, I'll tell you that. 3rd and 22 for the Ticats, and Osbaldiston off the side of his foot. Now Bounces down to Tim Daniel at the 44. And Daniel gets out close to midfield. He's stopped by Pete Giftopoulos up at the Winnipeg 54-yard line. At the 3-minute warning in Winnipeg, the Hamilton lead is down to 5 after a 42-yard punt at 9. Beautiful night here in Winnipeg. The fans get a much nicer evening to enjoy the football game than they had last week when they had to endure the rain and the wind here in Winnipeg. Bombers start on their own side of midfield. Sean Moore, he's in trouble, brings the ball down, and now looking deep. Gerald Wilcox was down there, but so were 2 Ticats, including Eric Carter.
Pretty good decision by Sean Moore just to throw that one down and out of bounds. He let that one go way wide. You know, he was 62% in Ottawa. He reminded us, Gordon, we did that game in BC, a lot of Roy DeWalt from the BC Lions of the past. He's a big, strong guy with a strong arm, and there you see Reggie Slack, who has a little bit of a rotator cuff problem in that throwing arm shoulder. For a quarterback, that's a major issue.
Yeah, I should say so.
Yeah, exactly.
2nd and 10 as Slack looks on. Quarterback draw again. And Moore is close to another first down as he gets to the Hamilton 46-yard line. And it looks like he's got enough for a Winnipeg first down, but they're going to take a measurement.
And right now, Winnipeg has a pretty nice scheme on this draw. They got Van Conant, number 60, in the middle of the screen, going up and working on O'Shea, getting the, looked like the bowling ball rolling cut block on O'Shea, and gives Sean Moore a little bit of a out of a gap. And when you're an offensive lineman, you got the draw called, you want the defensive lineman to go outside. You open up the gate, let them go there, and right now the Hamilton defensive line have to play a little more straight up and respect that draw. They've got a couple of good games out of it twice now.
And it was enough for a Winnipeg first down as the Bombers have it at the Hamilton 46. 2:34 to play here in the first half. 9-4, Hamilton leads Winnipeg. Last week, Reggie Slack led the Bombers in rushing. Moore guns it over the middle, and he's got Gerald Wilcox there as the linebacker Hassan Bailey makes the stop. But Wilcox has another first down to the Hamilton 31, his first catch of the night.
This is not a design play. It's called the hot read or the hot pass. Sean Moore sees that Hassan Bailey hasn't recovered or widened himself wide enough to get to Wilcox, and he'll just throw the hot there, see the open area, and get the first down.
Back they go to the ground. Blaze Bryant fights his way down to the 27-yard line.
I tell you, Gord, this is where you see what the effect of the running game has for your offense. When you're running the ball effectively, those linebackers on the opposing team tend to stay in tighter. Sam Bailey did that time to help on the run, and Wilcox got that little bit of an opening.
Michael O'Shea made the stop. Gain of 5. Here's Moore. Lots of time to the end zone for Daniel. Too far. Eric Carter was step for step with Tim Daniel. And the pass ball is incomplete as Daniel finds himself on the Bomber practice field.
And I know Don Southern said in his defensive meetings this week, we will not allow them to throw the balls to the 2 Geralds. Both times when they get down in the red zone so far, Don Southern has gone with a defense called bracket. That's the type of defense where you double cover the 2 inside receivers, make them throw to the wideouts, and Don Southern saying to Winnipeg, we're going to make you throw it outside.
Here's the trouble area for field goal kicker Troy Westwood. He's 10 for 20 outside the 30. And Westwood is 2 for 2 today, so Westwood is turning things around. And the Bombers are creeping closer, now within 2, as they trail 9-7 with 1:36 to play in the first. Is talking things over with Hassan Bailey, and you saw him yelling at Hassan Bailey. He told us this morning at breakfast, when a guy makes a mistake, I'll have to talk to him about it. You see Urban Bowman, the man who was the interim coach here in Winnipeg a couple of years ago. First down, the give goes to Kalen Hall. And Hall fights his way out to the 40 for a gain of 5. Urban Bowman was the interim coach when Cal Murphy had his heart transplant. And his record that year was 11-7. Ruben then gave the reins back to Cal, who has fashioned quite a record for himself in Winnipeg. Of course, he's got a ways to go before he gets up to the area in winning percentage that his former head coach, Hugh Campbell, has. A guy who used to open holes for Tim Tyndale. Game was 4 for Kalen Hall at 2nd and 6. Here comes the blitz. Taylor gets it away over the middle. And at the end of that play, Lee Knight got drilled by Greg Clark, and now Knight is slow to get up.
Well, Greg Clark is probably one of the most underrated linebackers in the CFL. Led the team last year in tackles. He had 7 special teams tackles this year, and again leads the team in defensive tackles with 27 for Winnipeg. And puts a hit on Knight there.
Gain was 14. First down, Hamilton. Here comes the blitz again. Taylor got crushed. And the pass is well over the head of Earl Winfield. Steve Taylor, remember, he got blindsided earlier by Del Lyles, and he got drilled again.
Sure did. Looked like Leonard Johnson came in and put some initial pressure on him. Leonard Johnson's a big man and gets his hands up. You see Lyles putting the hit. And you know, there's no padding right there. None of the players really wear hip pads. And Taylor took the helmet right in that hip. You know he's smart right now.
And he's limping as he goes to the line. Second down. Here comes the rush again. Taylor gets it away, looking for Winfield, and Winfield can't bring it down as he was closely covered by Shannon Garrett. And again, Steve Taylor felt the heat, Glenn.
Sorry, Gordon. It was nice coverage by Garrett going down the sideline. A perfect ball by Steve Taylor, and you don't see that very often where Earl Winfield drops a pass he should have caught.
And now we've got another injured Hamilton Ticat. And it's another by Hamilton last year. Played in Calgary previously, and I believe saw some time at offensive line for the Calgary Stampeders. But you have to know the plays. That's the other thing.
Former All-East All-Star, 1989. Sanderson hopefully will be able to return to this football game.
Paul Osbaldiston leads the CFL in net average, as we mentioned before. But look at his average overall, 45.8 yards a kick. And it's going up tonight. He's boomed a couple.
And Gord, if you see Ozzy on the phone on the sideline, he's probably calling his clients. He's a stockbroker.
There you go. His stock's going up. He's got a 57.8 yard average tonight. Osbaldiston is down. There are no flags. Daniel lost the football and just got it back at his own 17-yard line as Andrew Martin was down there close to it, as was Brian McCurdy. Osbaldiston was trying to draw the flag on the play, but unflew.
Katie Williams is the guy who's bringing pressure from the left side of your screen. You'll see him just come in late and just get a piece right there at the leg, and a little bit of an acting job by Ozzy as he falls to the ground. We see the official right there saying, no, I'm not going to buy that.
That's what they call a sit spin in figure skating.
Boy, Katie Williams is definitely pressuring Brendan Rodgers for that special team lead tackler. He's 4th right now in the CFL.
So the Bombers have the ball at their own 18-yard line with 47 seconds to play in the first half. Here comes Blaze Bryant, and Bryant is tackled quickly on the play as he is stopped by Jesse Small, and it looks like the Bombers will be content to go to the dressing room trailing it 9-7, and really they're fortunate to be down by just 2.
And they will be content because they turned Hamilton away down on the goal line a couple of times, and they're getting their running game going. I know Cal Murphy will be happy about that. You see Sean Moore's numbers, and he's also run the ball a lot for this team. So
he's run the ball for more yards than he's thrown it. Looks like he wants to run again. Now he throws from his knees. Man, Sean Moore slipped.
I'll tell you what.
And he threw that ball about 50 yards.
I'll tell you what. If you have a question about Sean Moore's arm strength, try and get a football, go down on both knees, and try and see how far you can throw it. Probably won't happen very far. You'll see. Right here, Sean Moore's going to slip down on his knees. He gets the hit right there late, but wow. Luke Cafazzo puts a hit on him late, but you'll see Sean Moore's arm strength as he throws that one, like you say, 50 yards on his knees, and he's hurt.
And that hit bent his face mask.
Well, he was on his knees already, so he had nowhere to give.
Bob Cameron, good high kick. This is Greer from the 40. And he fights his way out to about the 49-yard line. It's a punt of 48 and a return of 9. By the way, Dale Sanderson has a minor ankle sprain. They say will be back. That's good news. Sean Moore, though, took the worst of that. You can see he's cut over the left eye, and that hit bent his face mask and cut him. Oof.
Yeah, that was a big hit. He took all that hit right in his head and neck because his body was already planted on the ground. Those are always the worst ones. And Winnipeg really cannot afford to lose another quarterback with shoulder problems and Reggie Slack. They'd have to go to Terry Dean as their third stringer. Sean Moore can't get back in there.
6 seconds to play in the first half. Richardson's back out there for Hamilton, and Taylor looking to add points. One hops one for Wally Zatilny. Mentioned that Zatilny's just coming back. He was injured in the first half of the first game of the season for Hamilton. Tore up his knee against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And Zatilny had an outstanding preseason. 3 touchdown catches in the 2 preseason games.
I was joking with him about his knee brace. I said, Wally, only offensive defensive linemen wear knee brace. He said, I'm just doing it for confidence. The knee feels pretty good. He's ready to go.
It was squeaking though before the game. He was looking for an oil can to get him to stop squeaking. Final play of the first half, barring a penalty, and Taylor will have to go a long way here. Still going, and Taylor gets down to the 35-yard line before he's finally stopped by Greg Clark. So that will add to his stats. And his team will go to the dressing room with a 9-7 lead over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers after a 27-yard run by Taylor. A 2-point lead for the Tabbies at halftime in Winnipeg. Stand by now for our McDonald's halftime report.
McDonald's halftime, presented by your local McDonald's restaurant. Here's Darren Detition.
Welcome. Grant was an all-star as both a running back and a flanker. Tommy Grant and 5 other CFL players share the record of playing in 9 Grey Cup games. Grant coming away a winner 4 times. You can see more.
Winnipeg through the first half show 45 yards passing for Sean Moore. The Bombers have 83 yards rushing, and Moore has 42 of those. And just 1 turnover in the game. The Ticats picked off by Jerron Bolden in the end zone as they were driving for what would have been lucky in that opening half, but Sean Moore had a much rockier outing as he ran the ball for nearly as many yards as he threw it in the opening 30 minutes. And we talked about pass distribution to the slot backs with Alford and Wilcox, only 1 catch between them in the opening 30 minutes.
Hamilton definitely has a great game plan going into this one to take away the 2 Geralds and make Sean Moore read the defense and go to the outside receivers.
From the 20, this is Ken Burris, and Burris has some room as he gets all the way out to the 47-yard line. He is finally tackled on the play by Dean Noel, but Sean Moore gets set to come out for the second half, and most of his passes in the 0 to 10 range, 0 for 4 over 20.
Yeah, and those 0 to 10, that's just dumping it off to the running backs. You see they have a couple of catches. You talked about the slot backs with only 1, and overall just 4 for 11, but the running game going for Winnipeg is something Cal will be happy about.
Moore is up and throwing, and he's looking long for Tim Daniel, who dives for it. And that was a great matchup for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they had Daniel lined up against the linebacker, Sean Smith, number 95. And the Canadian Armed Forces well represented here tonight. It's Armed Forces night here at the Winnipeg Stadium as the Princess Patricia's Light Infantry, just back from a peacekeeping tour in Bosnia, is here this evening being honored by the Bombers. And no, that helicopter did not just crash into the stadium. 2nd and 10 for the Bombers. Here comes that quarterback draw. It worked twice. Make that 3 times. Sean Moore with a first down as he gets down to the 45-yard line, and Moore was thrown into the camera car down there on the sidelines, and the Bombers quickly come to the aid of their quarterback, hoping that there would be an unnecessary roughness call.
Well, this play has been working for the Bombers all day. This is the third time for the big gain on the quarterback draw, and you know that Eric Carter, after seeing the big gain, he wants to. He'd love to throw him out of bounds, but that's a big penalty, so at the last minute he holds him up and runs into our camera card, which is well padded on the sideline, so Sean Moore's okay.
19-yard gain for Moore. 1st and 10 Bombers from the Hamilton 45. Now Moore looking deep again. Alan Boyko bucked down with the flag down, and look who makes the catch, Sean Graham. Wow. Flags are down as Boyko got bumped. It looked like the pass was for him, and Sean Graham just ran under it.
What he does is he comes out of the
Forward pass interference. Hamilton, number 2. That penalty's declined. We got a completed pass and first down.
So what happens if you're doubling the slot backs, you get the slot backs to go to the outside. You see Sean Graham coming out of the backfield and then going back to the middle of the field. The slot backs had gone to the outside. That takes the coverage out. Eric Carter can't get there.
Gain of 4 on Graham's first catch of the year. 1st and goal from the 5. Blaze Bryant puts his head down and gets down to maybe the 1.5-yard line. So Sean Graham, the first-round pick out of UBC, gets a big gain for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and
Mike Campbell made the tackle on
he hauls in a 40-yard pass.
Sean Graham was a teammate of another pretty good slot back in the Canadian Football League, and Vince Danielson over there in Calgary.
Vince Danielson actually was his quarterback.
That's right, and boy, did he make a great catch in San Antonio when the Stamps came back to win that game.
Gain was 3 for Bryant. Now 2nd and goal from the 2. Graham in the end zone looking for the pass. Now more wide open touchdown. Blaze Bryant. Blaze Bryant with his first touchdown of the year, running or catching.
I'll tell you, at the beginning of the play, I was a little surprised to see them go to the pass with the running game working so well for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in this game. But you see Sean Moore's looking to his left, nothing there, goes back to the right. And Michael O'Shea just did not get out there to cover Blaze Bryant in the flat. You know, O'Shea was probably looking for that quarterback draw again and was still in the middle of the field.
Troy Westwood puts the point after up and good. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers lead for the first time. Pizza Hut scoring drive shows a 63-yard drive. The big gain was a 40-yard catch by Sean Graham, his first CFL grab. Troy Westwood kicks it off, trying to keep it away from Larry Thompson. He did it too well. And so they'll have to do it again, as it's an illegal kickoff. Blaze Bryant finally found the end zone. He didn't have a touchdown rushing or receiving coming into this football game.
That tells you exactly how much trouble Winnipeg has had with their running game and their offense so far in this football season, but they sure have seen a resurgence of it in this game.
I like it a little more, but you know, it's coming pretty good. We're getting things together. We need to get things rolling a little more and just be more consistent.
And Cal Murphy looking on with John Payne on the right, former head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We were talking to John yesterday about the Grey Cup game between Ottawa and Saskatchewan back in 1976 when Tony Gabriel caught that famous pass in the end zone to win Ottawa the Grey Cup.
And I was amazed to hear that Saskatchewan was in what's called a cover 4. That's 4 deep, and Ottawa catches a deep pass.
You, as well as anyone should know, you don't talk about that anymore in Saskatchewan. Here's Wally Zatilny from the 20. And Zatilny puts his head down at the 30, trying to pull his way ahead. Look out. They're throwing some punches down there now. And now some kicking going on down there as Burris is in there late with Giftopoulos. And finally the flag is thrown, and you saw Burris and Giftopoulos getting into it. But you know there's bad feelings between these two.
And these special teams are like a dogfight down the field. Coaches will tell you it's nothing more than a barroom brawl coming down the field when you're covering punts and trying to block for punts. And we'll see how the penalties are sorted out with the big fight down there.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Hamilton, 29. First down, Hamilton.
All right, the call is against Dean Noel, number 29, who came in late. We've got a new quarterback in the game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Anthony Calvillo. And by the way, Anthony wants to say hello to his girlfriend Tanya. Today is their 2nd anniversary, and Steve Taylor wants to say hello to his wife today, Stephanie. It's her birthday.
Big bonus points for both quarterbacks back home.
So Tanya and Stephanie, we understand, are watching together, and now Steve Taylor watches Anthony Calvillo go to work. The penalty moves the Ticats back to their own 15-yard line. And right away, the give goes to Kalen Hall, and he is stacked up big time. Kelly Rush and Greg Clark got to make the stop and limit the gain to 1.
You know, Don Southern is a strong advocate in having a 2-quarterback system, and it works so well here. You'll see the distribution of passing for Steve Taylor, but it works well in Hamilton because you have Steve Taylor in the middle. He's a 7-year veteran. You have the veteran in Kerrigan, and then the young guy in Calvillo. So works out well for Southern.
On 2nd and 9, Calvillo under pressure delivers over the middle, and what a catch by Manny Hazard on Darius Watson. Manny Hazard's first catch of the football game gives Hamilton a first down at the 31.
Well, Hazard was down the sideline earlier in the game and dropped what he should have had, but he made up for it here. He comes in on the curl, and with Watson all over him, he comes up with the big catch to concentrate as the ball was being swatted at.
Great week for him last week. First catch tonight is good for a gain of 15 yards. Calvillo has time, gets it away for Winfield, and Earl Winfield got hammered. The ball is loose, and the Ticats got it back. Looked like Greg Clark unloaded on Earl Winfield, and Winfield got up before Clark.
Here's Earl Winfield right here, and he's going to come down and work into the middle of the zone, into the hole. You'll see him get a nice opening in the zone. There's Burris. He runs past that zone, finds the hole, makes a catch, but he doesn't realize that he's got a defensive back right behind him, and Garrett, he strips the ball out.
Draw play goes to Kalen Hall, and he gets a gain of a couple. It's interesting that they would use the 2-back set, the 2-quarterback set, because I talked to Dieter Brock earlier on Sports Desk. I said, what would Dieter Brock, the Hall of Fame quarterback, think of a 2-quarterback system? He says, I'd have demanded a trade.
Yeah, and they love to play. Everybody wants to be on the football field.
Third straight week, Calvillo has replaced Taylor at quarterback for Hamilton. First down, Calvillo up and throwing, bounced up in the air and intercepted. The ball is loose, and Garrett has it. Now, are they going to call that an interception? Yes. Don Southern doesn't like the call, but it's Winnipeg football, so scoring as an interception for Garrett, a fumble which he got back.
I was going to say, Gord, that's exactly what it was. Shannon had it. Shannon Garrett had the interception on the deflection by Winfield, and that's not Calvillo's fault. He's going to throw the throw behind to Winfield. That means he goes down the field, stops, and comes back to the football. But Earl, who we've seen drop a couple of passes today, which is uncharacteristic of him, it bounces off his hands, and Garrett picks it up.
First down for Moore. And Moore slips. And give credit on the play to...
What's happening? Take it in tonight, baby.
Luka
Take
Vasilevsky.
it out of the house tonight. You can't get nothing tonight, baby.
Call the fans, baby. Tell you better call the fans.
Call the fans.
Them boys for real, baby. Them boys for real. Word is born.
You know what? I sat in a film session yesterday with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with the quarterbacks and receivers, and they very quietly sit, they take notes, and they talk about what they're going to do. The defensive backs were next door whooping and hollering. It was like, we're going to get that guy. I'll tell you what, DBs are the biggest talkers in football.
I'll tell you an example of that after this play.
2nd and 15 for Sean Moore. And Moore gets it underneath. And once again, has it for Gerald Alphin. And this time, Alphin makes the squeeze. His first catch of the football game. It's a gain of 9.
And talking about defensive backs that are always talking. Last year in Saskatchewan, we had Anthony Drawhorn, and every time he'd watch the game film, Drawhorn would say, if they throw that pass on me in the game, that's Pixies in a dance. Pixies meaning interception. Yeah, there's a lot of talking going on.
Gerald Alphin still without a touchdown. In fact, he leads the CFL in a dubious category. Most catches without a touchdown reception. Bob Cameron to punt. Good kick by Cameron. Earl Winfield making a rare appearance on the punt return team. Simply watches this roll down to the end line for a single point for Bob Cameron. A 75-yard single, but there is a flag on the play. We'll sort it out when we come back. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers lead the Hamilton Ticats.
Back to see and get our drops.
The penalty was an illegal block on Roger Henning, so Greg Clark and the Bombers decline the penalty and take the single point. First down now for Calvillo. Gunning it over the top for Thompson, and that time Jerron Bolden almost had his second interception of the game. That was almost pixies in a den, as Drawhard would say.
Yeah, like Draw would say. Let's take a look at some of the fighting going on special teams. This is K.D. Williams, and he's working on Henning, and it's, like we said, that brawl going down the field. You see, he giving him the shot there, knocks him down. Williams doesn't like it. He's going to do a little punching, and whoever in white jersey is, he doesn't care. He's going to take a shot at him.
And you saw the illegal block by Henning somewhere in the middle of all that. Second and 10 for Calvillo. Here comes the blitz. Calvillo gets it away, but Larry Thompson wasn't on the same page. He looks back at Calvillo, and Calvillo says, what'd you go that way for?
Well, it's a good scheme for Hamilton. They're trying to get rid of the ball. Calvillo's just going to take his steps back. He sees the blitz coming, so he knows he's got to throw it downfield. Now what happens is miscommunication down the field. You see the hit coming there late on Calvillo, but if you don't communicate, because that ball is being thrown to a spot, you're not going to get the completion. That time, Larry Thompson went in. Calvillo threw it outside.
Paul Osbaldiston back to punt. He played 5 games for the Bombers back in 1986. Oh, good kick by Osbaldiston. Daniel all the way back to the 23. And he gets maybe a yard on the return as he gets to the 24. A 52-yard punt by Paul Osbaldiston, who's having a great year for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
I was chatting with Ozzie before the game. He says he wanted to get back to BC one time because that's where he's from, but he kept calling over there, and they said, well, you know, we think that Louis might be back again.
Hey, I got a question for you. He's from Oldham, England. That's where he was born. Can you name 2 other CFL kickers who were born in England?
I don't even dare challenge the CFL Almanac in any of these questions.
Come on, Dave Ridgway's one of them. He's your buddy.
Hey, he just wrote a book.
Oh, hang on, Eric. First and 10 for the 24. Moore under pressure. Gets away the first time. And now that pass for Cal Murphy falls incomplete as Moore just threw that one away.
Well,
Good job by Moore to get away the first time.
It sure was, and we saw the arm strength of him when he threw that one from his knees in the first half, and watch his upper body strength and his leg strength. He was caught dead to rights right there. He gets loose and throws it out of bounds to avoid a big loss.
Now, your buddy Ridgway is the one kicker born in England. I can't believe you missed that. Your former teammate, Mark McLaughlin, is the other.
Is that right? Well, I'm going to make a little note of that. I'm sure I'm going to get a phone call from Ridgway.
Second down for Moore. Stands in and is picked off. Intercepted over the middle by Gary Lewis. And Lewis thrown down all the way down to the 12-yard line. Big interception for Gary Lewis on his 28th birthday. He's ruined Cal Murphy's day.
What a birthday present. His first interception of the season, and placing Sam Rogers in the lineup, who's injured right now, but just a bad read right there for Sean Moore, who throws it into that open area. Lewis makes a big interception, and now the Hamilton Tiger Cats have a chance to regain some of those momentum. But remember, they've been down here a couple times before and come away empty-handed.
Well, the Ticats lead the league with interceptions thrown, 19, but they're third in the league in passes picked off. First and 10, Hamilton. Empty backfield. Calvillo steps into the corner, and it is touchdown. Richard Nurse. His first touchdown catch of the year. And on the first play after the interception, The Ticats take advantage and have a chance to retake the lead.
Well, it's called sudden change. Your defense comes in, they're a little bit down because of the turnover, and you want to take advantage of it immediately. Calvillo gets tons of time in the pocket from that offensive line who've been banged up, and he finds Richard Nurse, who's running the corner pattern on Burris. Getting a little help from Mallet in the corner, but comes up with a nice catch.
You know, it's almost in tennis terms like a service break. John McEnroe always said it's not a break of service until you win your next service game. And in that case, the turnover doesn't matter until you do something with it.
That's right. And you always talk about it on defensively. You're always saying, listen, if they have a turnover, we got to come in and shut the door on sudden change, because that can gain big-time momentum for your team. But right now, Hamilton has it back.
The point after for Osbaldiston would give Hamilton the lead back. Osbaldiston puts it up and through, and the Ticats, with 6:41 to play in the third quarter, have a 16-15 lead over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a game. Winnipeg, where the Ticats have retaken the lead over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers thanks to a big interception by Gary Lewis and some help from the middle linebacker.
Yeah, you'll see big Mike O'Shea right in the middle. Now, here's the interception by Gary Lewis. Here's O'Shea right here in your screen. Now, just follow him and watch how he directs things as he's going down the field. He's like, okay, you get that guy. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take this guy over here, and we're going to get things going for our offense. He does it all for these Hamilton Ticats.
Kickoff is taken deep by Tim Daniel at the 15-yard line. Daniel looking to give the Bombers momentum back, gets out to the 42-yard line. And a return of 25 after a 60-yard kickoff. So Sean Moore and the offense get the football back in a situation where they need to strike back after that quick Hamilton score.
You read my mind, Gord, because it's up to the offense after a turnover like that to come in and respond to the score and get that momentum back.
Okay, I read your mind. Do I have to read Ridgway's book?
You do. It's a great book. It just came out.
First and 10 Bombers from their own 41. The gift goes to Blaze Bryant. And Bryant out close to the 50-yard line. Stopped at the 58, a gain of 8 yards.
Blaze Bryant picking up 8 yards.
We saw Michael O'Shea directing traffic on the interception. Now he's going to take on the block from Kenny Brown, work off that, and work right to Blaze Bryant. When we've said that Don Southern compared him to a Danny Bass, you know this guy can play.
And not just because he likes to fish.
That's right.
On second down, the give goes back to Bryant, and he should have enough for a Winnipeg first down as he gets it across the 50 to the 51. And Reggie Slack is warming up on the sidelines for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's got the bad right shoulder, the AC joint, or the rotator cuff as it's known.
Well, I'm not surprised he has the bad shoulder. I mean, the size of those arms to hold up. His shoulder has to hold up a lot of weight on those arms. Look at the size of that right arm he's got there. No wonder his shoulder's sore.
It was a first down for Bryant up to the 52. Now they fake to Bryant. And Moore on the run. Oh, almost had it picked off again by Lewis as he was looking for Gerald Wilcox, who wants pass interference. But Art McAvoy, the veteran official, says,
Well, I think that Gary Lewis has got, like, he's reading the mail for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here, because they ran the out pattern, and Gary Lewis pretty much ran the pattern for Gerald Wilcox.
You know what? The burglar alarms here went off in Winnipeg a couple of times at the Bomber offices. Maybe that was Gary.
Maybe he snuck in and got a look at the playbook.
Second down from the 52. 6 DBs in the game. They're going to try that quarterback draw again, and that may be one time too many as Jesse Small was waiting on it and brought Sean Moore down after a gain of 6. He'll be 4 yards short of a Winnipeg first down. You see that bandage over the left eye of Sean Moore. He also has a new face mask after getting his first one bent up in the first half.
Jesse Small right at the top of your screen. Now, you can't put all the pressure on Michael O'Shea to try and stop this quarterback draw, because Van Conen is coming out on O'Shea and making the block. So it's up to that defensive front four to Hamilton to get some pursuit angles and get back involved in the play. Jesse Small does it there and forces the Bombers to punt.
Look at the punters tonight, both over 50 yards. And there's not much wind here. Cameron trying to angle that towards the sidelines, which he does. And so Wally Zatilny will not be able to bring it back for the Hamilton Ticats. As Cal Murphy patrols the sidelines in Winnipeg, they're used to pretty good coaches here for the Bombers. Bud Grant, 1957 to 1966, led this team to the Grey Cup 7 times. He took them to the championship game. 6 of those were against the Hamilton Ticats. Bud Grant, the all-time winner for Winnipeg with 105, and Cal Murphy with 73 in his 9th year.
And there's no way Cal Murphy can change any type of his job. He does too much for this team.
On first down, over the top they go, and oh, Richard Nurse got clocked on the play by Shannon Garrett, but he hangs on to the pass from Calvillo, and as a Hamilton first down as he gets up to the 49-yard line.
You see Nurse right there waving off the sideline. He doesn't want the trainer to come up because he doesn't want anyone on the Winnipeg defense to think he's hurt. He comes down the seam in the zone, and Garrett comes up and puts a hit on him. Coaches will tell those receivers, hey, listen, you're going to get smacked coming across that middle. Make the catch anyway.
Gain of 26 yards, first down Hamilton. Now Calvillo over the top again for Winfield, and again he was tied up with Garrett. And every time Earl Winfield goes up the sidelines with a defensive back, the official is going to have a decision to make.
Yeah, because there's hand fighting going on right now, but I like the way the officials are calling it because they're letting the guys play. They know that kind of thing's happening on every play. Earl Winfield can't come up with that one, but really impressed so far with the ability of Shannon Garrett in his coverage tonight.
Interesting, Winnipeg used 6 defensive backs on 1st and 10, now on 2nd and 10. They go back to their normal alignment. 5 DBs. Calvillo looking to the corner up for Thompson. Oh, he had about 3 tries at that as he was working on Darius Watson. Larry Thompson very nearly made another circus catch.
He sure did. He gets the man-to-man on Darius Watson, runs the quarter pattern. Calvillo puts it up and over the shoulder where only Larry Thompson can get to it, and he almost comes up with the one-hander.
Now, what do you think of that? 6 DBs on first down, 5 on second. Usually it's the other way around.
Well, it's obviously scouting for the Winnipeg defense because coming into the game, Hamilton has had a lot of success throwing the football, not so much rushing, so that's obviously was their game plan coming in.
Daniel and Burris are 60 yards back for this punt from Paulus Ballaston. This is a low tumbling kick by Burris, and a big Hamilton bounce down to the 4. And now Burris trying to bring it back, gets up to the 9, loses the football. No, he was down. They're going to rule he was down. Good thing, too, for the Bombers because Hassan Bailey was standing in the end zone with the football. And Reggie Slack comes in at quarterback for the Bombers after the 57-yard punt by Osbaldiston. Reggie Slack, the 3rd-year veteran out of Auburn, comes into the game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 42.5% completion average this year for Winnipeg. In fact, the Bombers are the only team in the CFL as a team under 50% throwing the football.
And he's nursing a couple of injuries like we've talked about throughout this football game and doesn't want to be in this position in his first chance.
On first down, Slack is up to throw. And throw it deep, almost intercepted. There was no one there for the Bombers, but safety. Brian McCurdy was there for Hamilton. And all of this was set up on punt to Ken Burris that he very nearly fumbled away for a touchdown.
Well, you be the judge. Did he drop it or was he on the ground? You see him making his moves right there, trying to gain a couple extra yards. He gets spun around, comes down to the ground.
He was down.
Ground cannot make you fumble, so that's a good call by the official.
Unless you're Leon McQuaid. So now it's 2nd and 10 for Slack and the Bombers, and this is a situation where they need a first down. Slack wants to go backside. Look out. Now Slack is off and running. And Slack won't get to the first down marker. Great job by Aaron Carter and Mike O'Shea to limit the gain to 7. And Reggie Slack comes up 3 yards short of a first down, and the Bomber punting unit comes on the field.
What a job by Michael O'Shea. You see Slack looking downfield. Good coverage by Hamilton. Has nowhere to go. He fights off the initial rush and then gets going down the sideline. But Michael O'Shea was on the far hash mark at the beginning of the play, and he's right on the sideline at the end to make the tackle. He has some great range for a man who's 6'2", 232 pounds.
Man from North Bay, Ontario. Michael O'Shea forces the Bombers into a punting situation. And Bob Cameron, a Hamilton native, will punt to the Ticats. Here is Earl Winfield from his own 45. And Winfield gets right out to midfield before he is stopped on the play by Alan Wetmore. Oh, the Hamilton Ticats
in the ball game right now.
Good field position for the Tabbies, who start right at midfield. Time winding down. Now 5 receivers to the near side of the field. Calvillo's going to try that quarterback draw, and he got smoked. Stan Mikowas, Greg Clark in there, and they tried 5 receivers to one side, and Calvillo ran to the other, and Greg Clark said,
Now watch Clark's eyes. This is what linebackers, he's coming in on the rush. He sees the action, and when he gets a chance to put a hit on a quarterback, he's going to do it. Now this is the formation. Everybody from Hamilton, all the receivers, running backs to one side of the field, they'd run that screen pass to Kalen Hall twice so far in the game. That time they tried to trick him, go with the quarterback draw, but Clark would not be fooled.
Loss of a yard for Calvillo. Hall is deep. The lone man back. They try the receiver screen to Richard Nurse, who gets down to about the 49-yard line. He'll be 4 yards short of a Hamilton first down. Now, this would be a field goal try of 56 yards for Osbaldiston, but it looks like he's coming on the field without his kicking tee. And he wants to know from Southern if he wants to try a field goal.
Well, as long as this season is 50 yards, and you know, he definitely has the leg strength to kick the field goal, but if you're Coach Southern, you got to think about field position heading into the fourth quarter of this game and keep Winnipeg bottled up in their own end of the field.
And it will be Osbaldiston to punt, and now Burris is out for Winnipeg as a deep man after that misadventure last time. Alan Boyko on the right is back with Tim Daniel. Oh, another big kick by Osbaldiston. He almost put that through the uprights. Wow, Hank Olesic is on the injured list for the Hamilton Ticats, but Paul Osbaldiston is just booming them tonight. A 71-yard single for Paul Osbaldiston. He won it 46-44 on a last-minute field goal by Troy Westwood. Here are the numbers through 3 quarters tonight. Winnipeg's creeping up in passing yards at 97. And the stats just as close as this football game. And so Don Sutherland's team with a 2-point lead as the fourth quarter begins, but you get the sense they'd rather have the field position than have had that single. Reggie Slack gives off to Blaze Bryant. Bryant gets a gain of 3 out to the 38, but instead of getting 1, you get the feeling that Hamilton would have much rather pinned Winnipeg deep in its own territory.
Yeah, the ball's just bouncing off the leg of Paul Osbaldiston right now. It's just like snapping off, and he would have rather have angled that one to the sideline because field position more important than the 1 point in this case.
2 yards. It's 2nd and 8, and the ball is on his
Now 2nd and 8 for the Bombers. Slack still looking for his first down. Quick drop for Slack and a quick throw, but it's out of the reach of Gerald Wilcox, who was well covered by Don Robinson and Derek Greer. And once again, Bob Cameron and the Winnipeg punting unit will come on the field for Winnipeg.
Well, I tell you, Gord, you know your team is in trouble offensively in your season when the guy who leads your team in touchdowns scored is a defensive back.
Yeah, that's right.
Jason Mallett had 2 touchdowns coming into this game on fumble recoveries, and he's the leader on the team in touchdowns.
8th punt tonight for Bob Cameron, averaging over 50 yards. And he had a big week last week in the fourth quarter for Winnipeg. Oh, another huge punt. Here's Zatilny. Nowhere to go, and Zatilny is down at his own 25-yard line. That's one of the worst. That's one of the worst punts of the game. It only went 46 yards, and a return of broke Willie Burden's single-season rushing record last year.
Just shy of 2,000 yards on the ground in the Canadian Football League. That is incredible.
Holding was the call on that return against the Ticats, who will now begin from their own 17-yard line. So a big defensive series for the Blue Bombers. If they can stop Hamilton here, the Bombers would finally get some field position, something they've not enjoyed much in the game. Early movement. The give goes to Kalen Hall. Flags are down, and Hall gets out to the 20-yard line. Looked like the Bombers were offside. Del Lyles appeared to jump.
It definitely was Del Lyles from the outside. Just jumped, and be 1st and 5 for Hamilton. See a shot of Colin Scribner right there to the right of your screen. He sure had a good game against BC, battling against his brother Glenn Scribner.
Illegal procedure. 13, Hamilton. It's first down repeated.
I apologize to Del Lyles because
they called Calvillo. That's the second time a quarterback has been called for illegal procedure tonight.
Yeah, they get that head bobbing and they stagger their count. You know, quarterbacks will even go in front of a mirror when they're young in high school and stuff, and they'll practice calling signals.
I thought quarterbacks always stood in front of the mirror.
Well, you heard Doug Flutie say, I'm just going to stand on the sideline and look pretty. You're right.
Bomber crowd is into it. Calvillo over the middle, deflected and almost intercepted. He was looking over the middle for Richard Nurse, and Calvillo got whacked at the end of that throw.
Both Hamilton quarterbacks having to pick themselves up off the turf after every throw. These Winnipeg Blue Bombers are sending the house at Hamilton, especially on first down. And you see Lyles, who I accused earlier of being offside. You see St. Germain doing a nice job keeping him outside and away from his quarterback.
Al St. Germain, one of the good young offensive linemen in the CFL.
He's 3 bills.
300 pounds. 2nd and 15. Calvillo up the sidelines and incomplete. He was looking for Thompson, but Jerron Bolton was with him every step of the way. And this Winnipeg crowd gives the defense an ovation as the Hamilton punting unit comes on the field.
Calvillo really has to do it because he's getting so much pressure. He has to go down the sideline, and Jerron Bolden returns after that quad injury, and he's made the big interception in the end zone for Winnipeg, his 5th of the season. And now doing a nice job covering Larry Thompson down the sideline.
9th punt for us, Baldiston coming up. Ken Burris, who got taken off the punt return team on that last one, is back out there now for Winnipeg with Daniel. Baldiston standing in his own end zone. Gets it away. Low driving kick. This is Tim Daniel from midfield. And not much more as he gets it at 5 yards. But the tackle was made by Andrew Martin. Looks like Sean 0 for 2 passing in his 2 series. So Sean Moore back into the game for the Bombers. 1st and 10 from the Hamilton 53. Best field position the Bombers have had in this half. Moore, lots of time. He's looking deep, and it is well over the head of Tim Daniel, who was very well covered by Eric Carter. Give credit tonight to the corners for both teams, who have really done a great job on the deep ball.
Especially considering the fact that Hamilton's defensive scheme is to double the slapbacks.
See Mike Kelly, the offensive coordinator for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He relays the signals down the field. Looks a little disgusted with that last one.
Well, you can see the frustration in his eyes because his quarterback just tried to throw deep in a 3-deep zone.
Draw play, Blaze Bryant. And a great job tripping him up by Mike Campbell, who got the arm out. And so that draw play comes up well short. Mike Kelly's offense will have to regroup as they get set to punt the ball away again.
Sorry, Gord. How about if you're Mike Kelly and you're looking at 2 productive slotbacks in Gerald Wilcox and Gerald Elfman, who last year combined for 21 touchdowns, and he's thinking to himself, this year, together, they have 1.
Well, at this point last year, Gerald Elfman had 7 touchdown catches. This year, nada.
Yeah. Some frustration for that offense.
Bob Cameron to punt it away. You guys drilling the football. This is Tilney at the 5. And he gets up to the 10-yard line. Darius Watson with the tackle and forces the fumble. Winnipeg gets it back. And a huge break for the Bombers. The Ticats argue. But Ken Burris, of all people, comes up with a football.
A little bit of payback for Burris. He's had some trouble catching fumbles himself. This time he gets a chance to be the guy who recovers the fumble. Sees Tilney working back. He's got the ball in the wrong hand. See, he drops out of it there, but you see the ball was in his right hand, and that's where he was going to be tackled. You have to keep the ball in the hand away from the coming tacklers. And Tilney had that one come up. Brendan Rodgers right there making the hit.
But wait, there's a flag.
Objectionable conduct.
Ooh.
Hamilton, number 1.
Earl Winfield argued the call too vociferously. And now, first and goal for the Bombers from the Hamilton 5.
Well, Earl Winfield probably didn't have the vantage point that the officials had, because it was definitely a fumble. From where Earl was standing, it probably looked like he hit the ground, but that was a good call by the official.
First and goal from the 5. Blaze Bryant, the lone setback, takes the handoff, trying for the corner. Bryant, touchdown! And just as Hamilton did before, the Bombers take advantage of the turnover on the very next play.
We talked about sudden change, and I'll tell you what, Blaze Bryant scores this touchdown all by himself on athletic ability and running ability. He said that he was trying to get back involved in that running game after coming off the knee injury in '94, but watch him. He gets the ball and then works to his outside. 3 Hamilton tacklers out there waiting on him. Michael O'Shea, one of them. He makes a nice cut back and then forces his way into the end zone.
Blaze Bryant with his first rushing touchdown of the season. Troy Westwood with a point after. It is good. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have retaken the lead, 22-17, in a heavyweight battle in Winnipeg. And had 249 yards rushing in a game against the Ticats tonight. He's got his first 2 touchdowns of the season, 1 receiving and 1 rushing.
And he ties Jason Mallett for touchdowns scored by the Winnipeg Blue Bomber.
The offense is retaking the advantage. Troy Westwood with the field goal. Here is Tilney, who fumbled the last time he touched it. And Tilney upended at the 32-yard line on another great special teams play by K.D. Williams, who cut Wally Tilney's legs out from under him.
Let's go back to the touchdown. You see Bryant head to the outside. See Michael O'Shea, 59 behind, just overruns the play. Blaze Bryant does a great job using his instinct cutting back, but O'Shea just for a second took his eyes off Blaze Bryant. You'll see he gets a little burst there. That gets Hamilton over pursuing and then goes through on the cutback and then puts a couple of Hamilton defenders in the end zone with him.
First and 10 Ticats from their own 31. Calvillo over the middle for Nurse. And Ken Burris was on him quickly as he got up to the 35 for a gain of 3. All that scoring was set up on the fumble by Wally Tilney, which was forced by, who else? Brendan Rodgers.
Mr. Special Teams, number 35 right there. Now watch him cover the punt, line up Wally Tilney, get him in his crosshairs, and then bang, makes a hit right there. The ball comes out, and the big turnover for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
It was a heck of timing. Great for the team. We got to play great team football, and that's what we're doing tonight. And we're going to go win.
Thank you, CJOB, for that. Look out, Anthony Calvillo's in trouble. Gets it away for Lee Knight. And Lee Knight, the fullback, fumbled the football. And it's Hamilton ball as Knight tipped it out of bounds, and Dieter Brock was there to help make sure the call went their way. Lee Knight has what should be a Hamilton first down after a gain of 9.
Great composure by Anthony Calvillo. You get a chance right here to see the fumble. There's Lee Knight, and he's trying to find the football. You know, Hamilton came into this game fewest fumbles in the league, and that was a good job by Knight. Hitting it out of bounds, retains possession.
First and 10, Hamilton from the 45. Calvillo back to throw. He's got a man wide open. There's a flag down right at midfield. Richard Nurse was wide open, but Calvillo couldn't hit him with the pass.
Well, this will either be called a pick if you're on the defensive side, or a rub if you're on the offensive side of the field.
It's a pass interference call against the Bombers. Illegal contact.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Winnipeg number 22. It's a 10-yard penalty. It's first down.
Ken Burris is called, and it's a first down for the Hamilton Ticats right at midfield.
What happened on the play is that there was a pick by Hamilton. They ran a little pick action, and you could see Cal Murphy not happy with the call, but Burris got picked, so he grabbed on.
Oh, that official down there is going to get an earful from Cal. First and 10 Ticats from midfield. Calvillo for Earl Winfield. What a catch by Winfield. And he just put his head down into Daryl Sampson. He gets all the way down to the 37-yard line. A pickup of 17 for Earl Winfield.
It's a little pick pattern. It's almost like a wide receiver screen. They go 3 receivers to the wide side of the field. You see 3 receivers, Earl's the outside right on the C there. He'll come underneath the coverage in front of Burris, makes a nice catch, and heads upfield. You know, Winfield's projections for 1995, 1,800 yards and 16 touchdowns.
First and 10. The give goes to Kalen Hall. Got away from the first man, but gets stacked up at the 34-yard line. Daryl Sampson made the stop. A gain of 3 will bring up 2nd and 7.
Daryl Sampson made the tackle.
And Kalen Hall has not been as much of a factor as we thought he might be in this football game, as Winnipeg, which came into the game with the worst run defense in the league, has done a pretty good job stuffing the ground gun.
Yeah, but Hamilton has also been the worst team, while 10th in the league in rushing the football, so it's kind of a good matchup in that respect.
The stoppable force meets the movable object.
Exactly.
2nd and 7. Calvillo way back, guns it to the end zone for Thompson. Touchdown! Larry Thompson, what a catch in the end zone. Wow, a 35-yard touchdown, his 2nd of the night.
We talked about it earlier that Larry Thompson came into the game and predicted to me he would score twice in this football game. Here's his 2nd. Nice pass by Anthony Calvillo, throws it over top, but watch Thompson fighting off Darius Watson on the coverage and man-to-man and coming up with a huge catch for Hamilton as they respond to the touchdown by Winnipeg.
A lot of guys who had been held off the board so far this season are playing a major role tonight.
Well, they must have said, those other receivers, Richard Nurse, Larry Thompson, and Manny Hazard, say, we got to start contributing. Coming into this game, they hadn't scored, and Earl Winfield had all of the touchdowns for the receivers.
Watch him.
Cal Murphy still giving to the officials. 2-point convert try. Calvillo to the end zone, and it falls incomplete. Looking for Richard Nurse. 3rd time the Ticats have tried a 2-point convert this year. It falls short.
And here's another look at the touchdown. This is Larry Thompson right here in your screen. He's going to work one-on-one on Darius Watson, and Darius is in the bump and run. You see him coming up. He turns to the inside. Thompson looks back and comes up with a huge catch, out-leaping Darius Watson.
And no one happier to see that than Anthony Calvillo. What a big touchdown for the Hamilton Ticats. All of that set up by the pass interference call that gave Hamilton the first down. And so, after missing the 2-point convert, Ticats lead by 1, 23-22. Don Sutherland's thinking was leading by 2 is no different than leading by 1, I suppose.
Good call by Coach Sutherland.
Here's Tim Daniel from the 5. Daniel's got an alley up the right side. He gets up to the 42-yard line. And he is stopped up there by Gary Lewis to try and do something.
He predicted it coming in. 2 touchdowns tonight. He felt comfortable. He had his best year right here in Winnipeg, where he was an all-Eastern All-Star, and he felt like he had it tonight.
You can see those orange gloves he wears, the glass cutters gloves that so many receivers who have played in Saskatchewan wear.
I wore those. They never worked for me.
1st and 10 from the 41. Moore has time, has a man, and almost has it intercepted. It was very nearly picked off by Eric Carter, who was looking for his 6th of the year, and also back on the coverage was Sean Smith, the linebacker, number 95.
That was a case of a Hamilton defense that surprised a young quarterback in Sean Moore. Eric Carter was sitting out there in the zone. Sean Moore misread it. Almost got it picked off.
6 defensive backs into the game for Hamilton as Keita Crespina comes in on 2nd and 10. too many times. Michael O'Shea and Marcus Cotton stacked it up, and Sean Moore was well short of a Winnipeg first down.
Well, Jesse Small stopped it last time. Let's see what Jesse Small does when he sees it again. Right back on the pursuit angle, and let's see who makes the tackle. Jesse Small. You know, that was just not the defense that you run the quarterback draw on. They had the extra defensive back in, Hamilton playing the zone defense, and quarterback draw is not going to work there.
Earl Winfield and Wally Zatilny are back deep to receive the punt from Bob Cameron. And the Hamilton defense has turned in a big stop on the Bomber offense. Cameron's kick bounces down to the 35. Here comes Earl Winfield. Winfield got a great block, but Jerron Bolden buried him at the 28-yard line, a punt of 40 yards, and a return of 3. Well, we've seen a pick or two tonight. Southern at 58 in his career for Ottawa and Hamilton. Just ahead of to get all 8 in, so we had to skip a couple to get down to you. First and 10 for the Ticats from their own 28. Calvillo out to the far sideline. The one hopped it for Larry Thompson, and the pass ball's incomplete. That'll bring up second and 10 for the Ticats, and now a big down for the Winnipeg defense.
Well, you see what kind of offense you have in this kind of situation. You got a 1-point lead. You got to keep burning up the clock, and Anthony Calvillo not happy with himself after one hopping it to Larry Thompson.
Second and 10 for the Ticats. 3 receivers to the wide side of the field. Calvillo is looking over the top. Thompson's wide open, and Larry Thompson will not be caught. Larry Thompson, touchdown. That's 3 tonight. An 82-yard touchdown for Larry Thompson from Anthony Calvillo. And he's delivered on his promise and then some.
He throws in a bonus touchdown on his bold prediction coming in. This is simply a mistake in the secondary, and we talked about when you make a mistake as a defensive back, it's a touchdown. What happens is Darius Watson had the deep outside third. That was not Daryl Sampson's fault. Darius Watson should have been in the outside third. That's the deep third of the field. He made a mistake, came up short in the zone. Thompson found the open area, and all Daryl Sampson could do was watch him run into the end zone.
Larry Thompson over 200 yards receiving tonight. He said before the game, say some nice things about me, huh? Can't say enough nice things about him now. As Paulus Balderson comes on for the point after.
Well, Gordon, you know, Cal Murphy, when we talked to him yesterday, said that they really tried to get Larry Thompson. He feels that he is one of the best receivers in the league. You'll see right here. Here is Larry Thompson. Now it's a zone defense. He's just going to work right up here in the zone, and Darius Watson makes a mistake and comes out of his coverage. You'll see Darius Watson right there. He goes underneath. Sampson cannot get over to help out and try and cover up for his halfback, and it's off to the races for Larry Thompson.
And we talked about that play being a big one defensively for the Bombers. Was it ever? 4:53 to play, and now that try for the 2-point convert may loom large. Had they kicked the 1-point convert lead, the Bombers can tie with a touchdown and 2-point conversion of their own.
I was going to say, you know, the fans are awfully quiet here in Winnipeg, but it's only 8 points with 4:53 left, and you know you can get a 2-point convert in the CFL, so this one's far from over. What a game.
Paulus Balderson to kick it off. Daniel and Burris are back deep. This is Burris from the 25. And Burris got hammered up at the sideline by Pete Giftopoulos, who limits the return to 5. 4:50 to play in the fourth quarter. The Bomber offense gets the football back and still has a chance to come back in this football game.
Oh, they have a great chance to come back. This game is far from over, and it's time for the Winnipeg defense to answer the bell. It's time that they shake off that bad start to the season. Here's where you respond.
Sean Moore has missed his last 5 passes. Up and throwing here. Moore over the middle. Open. Big catch. Oh, what a collision. He put his head down, and he hammered Brian McCurdy.
Oh, man. I tell you what. Moore being the nail. Brian, a little frustrated in 1995, catches the ball coming over the middle. Nice job by Sean Moore to find him. He catches this and watch him put his head down. Pow! You see that head snap back by McCurdy. Former defensive back knows that sometimes it doesn't work out in your favor, but he put in there.
24-year-old Rob Hitchcock, another Hamilton native, takes his place in the defensive secondary. 1st and 10, Winnipeg, the Bombers at their own 53. Moore again to throw, and he's looking deep over the middle for Daniel. He's open! Oh, what a catch! Tim Daniel down to the 6 on Eric Carter. And they keep trading punches. A 53-yard gain.
Well, some tremendous speed by Tim Daniel, but it's all set up by the throw by Sean Moore. He drops back in the pocket in a straight drop back, looks off the free safety because he's going back to the post. And then the key in the throw is that he puts lots of air on the ball. That gives Tim Daniels a chance to run under it.
1st and goal from the 6. The gift to Blaze Bryant. Bryant trying to get outside. Nothing doing. What a play by Don Robinson, the defensive back, to trip him up for a loss of 4. And Michael O'Shea was out there as well. It'll be 2nd and goal now from the 8.5.
Don Robinson, another one of those guys that comes over from Vegas, and what a job of run support he does on the play.
2nd down, the ball is on the Hamilton 9.
3 minutes.
2nd and goal. Here's Moore. Under pressure, looking to run. He's got room. Sean Moore. Touchdown, Winnipeg. And the Bombers will go for 2 for the tie.
It turned into a foot race. Sean Moore wanted to go to his slot backs, but again, Hamilton does a nice job of bracket coverage, taking away the slot backs. The 2 Geralds aren't there, so Moore has to take off. He goes to the outside. It's a foot race between Moore and O'Shea. Sean Moore wins it, takes the big hit by Robinson at the goal line, but it doesn't hurt when you just bring your team back and they're going for 2.
Hey! Right half! Right half! Jump!
And you hear Cal Murphy screaming instructions to put the football on the right hash mark. Why would they want to do that?
Well, because the play they have set up, they need the wide side of the field to be able to run it. And if your offense on a 2-point convert, you can ask the official to put it anywhere you want.
For 2 of the tie. Moore, end zone, 1 hopped it to Gerald Wilcox. We're at the 3-minute warning. 46 to play here at the Winnipeg Stadium. 30-28. Hamilton leads Winnipeg. Sean Moore and the Winnipeg offense need the ball back one more time, and he urged the Winnipeg defense on as he left the field.
You saw that Band-Aid on his head. He had to pick up a few stitches after that hit in the 1st quarter.
Troy Westwood kicks it off. And Larry Thompson drops at the 20. Darius Watson, who got burned by Thompson for a touchdown a moment ago, dropped him on the special teams play. Hamilton will have the convert try.
The ball last wins. It's turning out to be that way so far.
Crowd is on its feet. 1st and 10 from the 20. They fake to Kalen Hall. Calvillo getting outside. Flags are down. And he completes it over there for Richard Nurse. But it's coming back. Holding is the call against Hamilton.
I believe Paul Randolph.
Holding 57, Hamilton. 1st down repeated.
Val St. Germain is called for a holding, a costly penalty for the Ticats. And it will move them back to their own 10.
Val St. Germain is right here on the screen, and let's take a look and see what happens on the play. going out to help his quarterback and just grabs the shoulder pads for a brief second. I don't know. That was a close one, but he did grab him.
5 receivers to one side. Calvillo looking one-on-one to Winfield. No catch. He was out of bounds. Shannon Garrett with the coverage. It'll bring up 2nd and 20.
Shannon Garrett hasn't got the statistics in this game that at the end of the game you'd say he was one of the all-stars or one of the stars of the game, but he has done a tremendous job of coverage all night on Earl Winfield, and again he locked him up there in man-to-man on the weak side in the one-on-one, and Calvillo had nowhere to throw it. What a night he has had in covering one of the premier receivers.
And here comes the crowd again. Calvillo to throw for Winfield. Way over his head, incomplete. 2:23 to play. And the Bombers will get the ball back. And look at Calvillo go after Kelly Rush. Kelly Rush is 6'7", 255. And the Hamilton quarterback went after him.
Well, I tell you, he's frustrated. You see what happens right here. You see Ken Burris coming off his man because he's blocking. See Richard Neer's blocking there, so he's going to come up, put a little extra pressure in Calvillo's face. But Calvillo's frustrated not because of the throw, but because Shannon Garrett, for the 2nd consecutive play, put the blanket on Earl Winfield.
Paulus Balderson in his own end zone. Ken Burris and Tim Daniel at midfield for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And Balderson is going to give up the tie. Unbelievable. The Ticats decide to give up the tie. It's 30 all as the Tabbies give up the safety.
Well, there is some shock in this building right now, and it's not surprising.
Maybe they think back to last year when Winnipeg came back from 24 down in the 4th quarter and Westwood kicked the field goal. No matter how good the punt had been, the Bombers would have been in field goal range, which could have given them the win. But now the Bombers will get the ball back anyway and have a chance to win it with a single.
I'll tell you what, I have the utmost respect for Coach Don Southern, but I have to disagree with a 2-point game, giving up those 2 points on a safety. You never know. You punt that football, you get a fun.
Taylor
was just wanting to make sure that that was the decision and that Paulus Balderson didn't do it on himself. And you see Don Southern trying to explain what he was thinking on the play. But wow, in a 2-point game to give up those 2 points, that could come back to haunt him in a big way. Now he gets the field position, which is what he was thinking about. But a single can win it now for Winnipeg.
And the Bombers will scrimmage it from their own 35-yard line. 2:17 to play, 4th quarter. Sean Moore is just 9 of 23. They set up the receiver screen, and Daniel dropped it. Tim Daniel dropped the football and was a little cavalier about it. That was very nearly a lateral.
Yeah, he had to be careful there, because if that ball is thrown backwards, behind Sean Moore, it's considered a lateral and therefore a fumble if it hits the ground. Tim Daniel kind of nonchalant about it. Maybe he heard the referee behind him yell incomplete.
Second and 10 for the Bombers. Overtime looming. Draw play. Blaze Bryant. He gets up to about the 42. He'll be 3 yards short of a Winnipeg first down. And Michael O'Shea tripped him up short of the first down yardage. Hey, maybe Southern had the idea. He knew his defense could stop him, because now Winnipeg will be forced to kick it away.
You'll see Michael O'Shea not influenced. He comes up, can't get to Blaze Bryant, who shows some good quickness to get to the outside, but he does force him to be short of the first down. And now if Don Southern can get the ball back and go down the field and score, he looks like the genius.
Last time Hamilton beat Winnipeg was in overtime, August 1992, 37-35. Big kick by Cameron. Here's Winfield from the Winfield snowed under, and look who got down there again.
These linebackers account for half of Winnipeg's special teams tackles, and Brendan Rogers leads the group. Of course, he caused a fumble earlier, so here comes the big finish.
Three receivers to the near side of the field. Calvillo, screen pass for Hall. Hall waits for blocks, and Kalen Hall gets out to the 33-yard line. It's a gain of 6. It'll bring up 2nd and 4.
They got Kalen Hall at 5'8", 200 pounds, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to catch it out there in the flat, and at that size, cut right back into the flow where all those linebackers are coming.
Clock running, under a minute and a half to go. Calvillo trying to get outside. Throws back across the middle for Winfield. What a goal! He couldn't catch it. Winfield almost had it. He was wide open over the middle, but Calvillo couldn't get enough on the football. And Don Sutherland's going to have to kick it back to Winnipeg. What a football game.
Wow. An amazing play, first of all, by Calvillo to get out there, but watch the acceleration by Earl Winfield, if we can see it in the corner there. He just takes off to go get that football, but when he went to catch it, he sort of jumped, and Don Southern sees one slip through his fingers. Boy, what a game we got here tonight.
Osbaldiston will punt it back to Winnipeg.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of receivers wouldn't have even got to that football.
Winnipeg needs a big return. Osbaldiston thought about running. No, he couldn't have. Hesitates, and look at the kick. Daniel all the way back to his 20. Daniel thought he saw a seam, put the crowd to his feet. Got up to the 27. Richard Nurse on the stop. It's another big kick by Osbaldiston. 58 yards, a return of 7. 1 minute exactly to play in the 4th quarter. Winnipeg's got the football back.
Now remember, they don't need to get into field goal range to win this football game. Don Southern chose to give up a safety. That tied the game, and now Winnipeg just has to get into a position where Bob Cameron can punt for the single.
Troy Westwood's longest field goal of the season, by the way, 48 yards. 1st and 10. They give to Blaze Bryant. Bryant gets up to the 38. But as soon as the ball is marked, the clock will start running. A 6-yard gain. And the Bombers showing no indication that they're going to go into their hurry-up offense.
Now, Cal Murphy probably thinking right now he really doesn't need to go into hurry-up. He's got a minute left. The clock's running. They need to get out of the huddle, but he only needs about 3 first downs, and then he can punt it.
Close to the first down as he gets out to the 42-yard line. This will require a measurement. Or he remains down on the turf. Yard to go from their own 36.
Look at that. He's walking over there like he's just mad that he has to leave a great football game like this. That's a tough cookie right there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Because that hurts.
Well, Bob Cameron is into the football game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who decide not to gamble. No, they are going to gamble. Here comes more in the offense.
Well, you know what, Gord? I think they had the decision made. They just wanted to cause a little bit of confusion in Hamilton, get them moving in and out.
Now remember, O'Shea plays all the special teams for the Ticats. They may have a problem getting the right number of people out there, and right now, they do have the right number. It's 3rd and less than a yard. Sean Moore, straight ahead, should have the first down.
Well, this will depend on where they mark it. He should have it, but Giftopoulos, who comes in for O'Shea, did a nice job going over the top and hitting Sean Moore. We'll see where they mark the football.
Yesterday in that meeting I had a chance to attend with Mike Kelly in the offense, he said to the quarterbacks, if the pile doesn't move, you've got to move it. Now the Ticats are saying they've stopped them.
This is going to be close.
Ooh, they didn't exactly get the gravy spot.
And the word from the bench is that it was dislocated elbow by O'Shea.
Winnipeg got that by about an inch. That was close.
Well, they've had to make some replacements into that offensive line, but they do a pretty nice job. But Giftopoulos comes over the top.
On first down, draw play for Blaze Bryant. Look who made the stop, Pete Giftopoulos. And I don't understand why the Bombers haven't thrown the football. And Sean Moore, I don't think, understands it either.
Well, that is really surprising. 34 seconds left. They're well out of even Bob Cameron's punting range for the single. If they must be planning to go into overtime right now, because they definitely don't look like they're trying to get the ball into kicking range.
Sean Moore gestured to the Winnipeg bench, and I think he wanted to throw the football. 2nd and 10. Draw play to Blaze Bryant.
Yeah.
And now they're booing in Winnipeg.
Cal Murphy definitely thinking overtime. He didn't throw the ball down the field in 4 straight plays with a minute to go. He's thinking, let's go into overtime. Not have anything bad happen.
It's the final play of the 4th quarter. And so we will have overtime. In a game that has seen a little bit of everything, we're going to see some more. 2 5-minute overtime halves are coming up. But first, let's send you to Darren Detition at CFL Control.
Thanks very much, Gord. What a great football game that we are witnessing tonight from...
Them are bad.
Hollis Bolison kicks it off. Here's Burris from the 10. Oh, got a big block. And Burris still going, gets out to the 37-yard line. Oh, man. K.D. Williams threw a huge block as he wiped out Roger Hennig.
Well, I think it's pick on the safeties night when it comes to the Hamilton Ticats. We saw McCurdy getting hit, and then some coverage here. You're banging around coming down the field, and K.D. Williams puts a huge hit right down there. You see Noel coming up and making the tackle, but there's some big-time hitting going on in this field right now.
Away, baby. I'm taking it there.
1st and 10 now for the Bombers from their own 38 in the first half of overtime. Moore, quick drop, looking for Alan Boyko. The pass ball is incomplete. Alan Boyko does not have the catch tonight.
Well, you know, I'm a little surprised here. You get a minute left in the game, you run 4 running plays. And then you got a 5-minute halftime or 5-minute overtime period, a chance to maybe run the ball first down, use your game plan, throw the ball on 2nd down, and you go right to the pass. So, I don't know. I'm not a coach.
Well, a cynic would say maybe you should be. Yeah. 2nd and 10 rather from the 37. Moore with time over the middle. Wilcox, didn't make the catch. Gary Lewis was there. Wilcox had it for a moment, but couldn't squeeze it. The Bombers 2-0 will be forced to punt.
Great timing by Gary Lewis just to time up that hit, because he was in the zone behind that defense, and he just timed it up perfectly to actually bump Wilcox just as the ball was arriving there, and that's why it went incomplete.
Earl Winfield out there on punt return. Don Sutherland told us this morning that Winfield would make guest appearances on the punt return team, which he has done tonight.
Well, he's trying to keep Earl Winfield healthy for 18 games. And on special teams, that's usually where you get hurt.
Cameron booms another one. Winfield from the 27. And great special teams coverage by both teams. Darius Watson gets down to make the stop. A 45-yard punt and a return of 2.
Boy, the punters ate their Wheaties tonight, didn't they?
I'll tell you what. What are they putting in the footballs? Helium?
Yeah, they're crushing that football.
All the quarterbacks in this game are under 50% passing.
Not bad numbers, though. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's from a team that's thrown a lot of interceptions this year, so you want to keep that right now like that.
Take off the 82-yard touchdown to Larry Thompson.
Doesn't look quite as good.
1st and 10 Ticats. As Calvillo goes to the shotgun. And looking for Manny Hazard. Ken Burris was there on the coverage, and that was another pass to Cal Murphy that fell incomplete.
Cal Murphy doesn't want any part of that football. No. But Calvillo had a problem getting rid of that one simply because he was on the dead run. If you ever tried to throw a football running full speed, it's very difficult, and that one just flew on and went over the head.
Now 2nd and 10 for the Ticats. Under 3.5 to play in the first overtime half. Mask, and it will be a first down for Hamilton.
Well, there was no surprise what Winnipeg was going to do.
Winnipeg 72, first down Hamilton.
Called it, Gord. They had everybody on the line of scrimmage. They were sending the whole troops. Colin Scribner's coming up from the outside. He's going to move out, but it's unintentional. He's just trying to grab the... Oh, jeez. Wow. He almost took his head right off. He really didn't mean to, but once your finger gets caught in that face mask, you really can't do anything about it.
Well, instead of the Ticats punt from their own end zone, they've got it 1st and 10 at their own 46. Shovel pass, Kalen Hall, and he got the knee down, and he is stopped. And you know who made the stop? Colin Scribner.
That's right. He's trying to make amends, but I'll tell you what, you can put your knee down in the Canadian Football League, get up and keep running. It's whether or not you're touched when your knee is down. So I don't know if that one, we'll take a good look at it right here from the end zone. It's a shovel pass.
Our machines are overheating.
A lot of replays going tonight. Some huge plays.
2nd down. There's a loss of a couple up the sideline. They go. Intercepted by Daryl Sampson. Hamilton's league-leading 20th interception of the season. And there's a flag at midfield. Oh, what a big penalty this is going to be.
Well, two things happen here. You see Colin Scribner trying to make amends for that last penalty coming up, put the pressure on Calvillo, but Daryl Sampson showing some great range from that free safety position. You know, at the safety spot, you have to read the quarterback's eyes. Calvillo didn't look him off.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, number 90, Winnipeg, dead ball foul, Winnipeg, first down.
Well, Kelly Rush called for unnecessary roughness after the interception.
What a huge call, because it's a dead ball foul. And we saw Colin Scribner on the first replay hitting the quarterback, so it wasn't on Calvillo. It had to be some extracurricular activities happen after.
And Kelly Rush is still hot down on the Winnipeg bench. Instead of 1st and 10 from their own 51, the Bombers begin at their 36. Moore is looking for it all. He's got a man open. It's picked off the other way. Oh, man. That is Eric Carter's league-leading 6th interception of the season. Wow.
Well, they went after him once and came up with the big catch. That was when McCurdy was out of the game at the free safety, and Rob Hitchcock was in. Sean Moore looked him off and went to the post and got it. He tries to go back to it. You see him looking him off there, goes back to the post, but Eric Carter, who's having a great season, would not be fooled a second time. Times it perfectly and comes up with the interception.
Hamilton has it back. You don't often see this many possessions in an overtime half. Here comes Calvillo. He's got Sanderson in front of him. Calvillo guns it. Got a man open. And the catch is made by Larry Thompson. And he gets down to the 36-yard line. Whoa, big play by the Tabbies.
And here's Larry Thompson. Now he's on the back side of the play because Calvillo's rolling the other way. He sees that he's open. Daryl Sampson had to make a decision. You see 30 coming into the scene late. He had to make a decision because things were layered. He had Nurse in front of him. But what a game for Larry Thompson. Comes up with another big play.
He's getting close to the Ticat single game reception mark. He's got 42 yards in that last game. picks his way ahead for 4 yards as he is stopped with 50 seconds left to go in the first overtime half. The best single game performance by a Ticat receiver yardage-wise, Hal Patterson, 288 against Saskatchewan back in 1962.
Well, I was joking with Larry before the game saying, you know, we can never talk about you because you're not making the big plays. We got to see some big catches out of you. Well, wow, as he responded.
They mark it as a gain of 3. 2nd and 7 with the clock running. And the Ticats are taking their time. Calvillo throws it blindly and it falls incomplete. It was well over the head of Thompson, who's well covered by Jerron Bolton, and the Hamilton field goal unit comes on the field.
And that's why they were taking their time. This is the first overtime half, and like you explained earlier, Gord, in overtime there's 2 complete separate halves. Hamilton gets the ball back to start the second half of overtime. They get some points here, then they get the ball back.
Paulus Balduson puts it just inside the 40-yard line. This year, from 30 to 39 yards, he's 5 for 7. He's 14 of 19 this year outside the 30. So call it a 40-yard field goal try for the lead. Osbaldiston puts it up and good. And the Hamilton Ticats strike first in overtime as they take a 33-30 lead over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You know what? No matter who wins this game, there's going to be some great second guessing going on after this football game.
Oh, it'll be second. Now down by 3, so.
Winnipeg gets it at the 35. And Sean Moore. Now he's throwing deep, looking for Tim Daniel, and he was double and almost triple coverage. Eric Carter was back there along with Keita Crispina. The nickel defense was in there. Now remember, the Ticats will get the football back to start the second overtime half.
And that's why Winnipeg is going deep down the field. See Don Southern saying, get back. He wants his defensive backs to be deep, not give up any long plays.
Now, I've always been a believer that the prevent defense only prevents you from winning. You played 4 deep here?
Yeah, you have to play. Only 20 seconds left. You just don't want to give up the deep ball. And
see, that's what I don't understand. You've stuffed a team all day throwing the ball, and then you go into a defense that you don't normally run. 2nd and 10 from the 35. Sean Moore, bootleg. And Moore gets a first down as he gets out to the 46. 13 seconds to play in the half. And they need probably 25 yards to get in field goal range.
Yeah, they need 25 yards. And now that's it's a good call to have the prevent defense on. And they got another Hamilton Ticat that's hurt out there on the field. Now the juggling begins. You see Don Southern talking to Roger Henning, the backup free safety, actually the 3rd-team free safety right now. He's going to have to go in there and
get a little thin back there. In a hard-fought football game in Winnipeg tonight, there have been a number of exchanges like this. Sean Moore guns it over the middle. He's got it there to Gerald Wilcox. They get across midfield with 5 seconds left. And it's unlikely that they'll have enough time to run a play and then get the field goal unit on the field. Winnipeg is called timeout.
Well, I'm going to play coach here.
Okay. All right.
Here's where I put every receiver to one side, the wide side of the field, and run the Hail Mary. Throw it up there, make sure it gets to the end zone. You never know.
Can you get a play off, throw a quick out to get down to the 45, and then try the field goal, a 52-yard field goal?
Well, you can, but it has to be an out, and you have to throw it on time.
Can you do it in 5 seconds?
I think you can get it done. It has to work perfectly, though.
Moore, quick drop, sidelines, there's the out, and there's the out of bounds. 2 seconds left, so they did, right to the 45.
It answers the question, but because there was only 5 seconds, it was only a short gain, so it's still going to...
Well, that's fine. Now they can try the field goal. So now Troy Westwood will try a 52-yard field goal, which would be his longest of the season.
And he's kicking 50% from over 30 yards, so
slightly into the wind. Everyone's having a good night. And now Hamilton, Toronto and Hamilton. Paul Mazzotti did it.
It's called the kick-in, kick-out team.
You practice it?
You practice it, and you go in, and it's funny because sometimes you see Lee Knight's back there and Earl Winfield's back there. They're back there for their hands and their experience.
Lee Knight's a good kicker. He punted once this year for 47 yards. From the 52, Westwood puts it up, and it is well short. Winfield, now he can be dangerous. Winfield just goes down, but nobody touched him. He can't really do that, but it's the final play of the first half of overtime. 33-30. Hamilton lead. Kind of game that can turn your season one way or the other. For the Ticats, it may turn on the fact that Michael O'Shea has dislocated his right elbow, and you can see the pain on his face. As you'll watch his Hamilton Ticats trying to protect the 3-point lead in the second half of overtime. And Troy Westwood kicks it off deep. This is Larry Thompson from the 7. And Thompson gets up to the 25. By the way, stay tuned following this game for Sports Desk with Michael Landsberg. All the stories on the day in sport. Man, Larry Thompson promised you he'd have a good day. I don't think he promised you he'd have a great day like this.
You think he'll be on some of those Sports Desk highlights?
Oh, yeah.
Look how close he is to breaking the record for the Hamilton Ticats in receiving in one game.
Man, he loves playing in Winnipeg, doesn't he? He loves this track.
Steve Taylor told me they just needed some timing.
Oh, Cavillo almost lost the football. Oh. And Kelly Rush was pounced right on top of him, and Kelly Rush has done that a lot this year. He has 3 fumble recoveries this season.
Well, Calvillo had to reverse pivot out of there. That means turn away from the play. Tried to reverse pivot when he didn't get a handle on the football and very nearly gave up the ball in his own end of the field.
Loss of a couple. 2nd and 12. Calvillo gets it away for Lee Knight. He lost the football, but they're calling Knight down. And he was well short of the first down, stopped near the original line of scrimmage at the 25. Osbaldiston and the punting unit come on the field for Hamilton, and a chance for Winnipeg to get some decent field position.
Good coverage by Winnipeg because Calvillo has to hold on, and then dump the ball out to his safety valve and Lee Knight, but with 12 yards to go for a first down. Winnipeg will let him do that.
That was a fumble.
Well, it was a fumble, but we didn't hear the whistle in that replay. We're not sure exactly when it blew. The officials say that they blew the whistle before it was.
Hey, Hamilton can't get the offense off the field fast enough. They almost turned it over on both those plays. Daniel is back deep with Burris. And Don Southern wants handles sewn on that football.
This will be good field position for Winnipeg, even though Ozzy's been crushing the football coming out of that punting formation. Winnipeg should pick this ball up around midfield, and they're only down by 3.
And there's a problem with the 20-second clock. And now a flag is down. There was the problem for Hamilton. They didn't have enough men on the field. Roger Hennig comes in late for the Ticats. But there's a flag down at the 50-yard line.
Now O'Shea plays on special teams like you mentioned earlier, and that's where you're going to get the mix-up.
Hamilton, number 3, third down repeated.
So it's a time count violation. And that'll move them back another 5 yards.
So better field position for Winnipeg. They'll definitely get the ball if they can hold on to it, because it's been bouncing around a little bit around midfield.
Burris and Tim Daniel await this punt from Paul Osbaldiston. To say the least, the long-awaited punt of Paul Osbaldiston. What a football game tonight in Winnipeg, though. Larry Thompson with 3 touchdown catches. And there's the official time, which is the same as what we see on the scoreboard. But what he has is official. Osbaldiston. Not a bad punt. Here's Daniel from the 50. He almost lost the ball. Now Daniel tripped up, but he gets down to the Hamilton 51-yard line. That's where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will start with 3:21 to play in the second. Overtime half, a 38-yard punt, and a return of 9. Sean Moore has tried a dozen passes of more than 20 yards and completed just 2 of them.
I'll tell you, there was one big one, though. That one big long post pattern.
Down by 3. They spot the ball at the 50. Remember, Troy Westwood beat the Ticats with a field goal the last time they met in the regular season. And up, Blaze Bryant. Bryant gets 5 down to the 45. Everything you expect from Hamilton and Winnipeg, the 2 teams that have met in the Grey Cup more than any other team. Hamilton and Winnipeg have played 10 times in the Grey Cup.
Talk about Grey Cups. These 2 guys are...
Don Southern played in 6 of those Hamilton-Winnipeg Grey Cup games.
Look at that matchup.
You played in the last Hamilton-Saskatchewan Grey Cup game.
I was thinking a little bit of ribbing about that one before the game as well.
2nd and 5. Moore overthrows Bryant, but he managed to come down with it. But as he juggled it, he was not able to move ahead. He'll be 3 yards short of the first down, and Eric Carter swatted Bryant in the back of the head as he left. That could have been a costly penalty, but now the field goal unit comes out for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Pretty nice job by Blaze Bryant, because when you're running that flat route, you know you're going to get cranked by the corner sitting out there in the zone. So Blaze did a nice job to concentrate on the ball, get the one hand on it. Here comes Westwood.
The ball is spotted just inside the 50. This would be his longest field goal of the year. This is for the tie. Cameron puts it down, and Westwood puts it through. Tie game. Westwood with a 50-yarder, his longest field goal of the season. Oh, they're slugging it out in Winnipeg tonight. Southern said the worst combination in football to be a defensive back and a kicker. And Cal Murphy looks on and loves that. But Southern said he played the game for Ottawa where he gave up a touchdown and then missed the game-winning field goal.
You know, everybody wants to be a kicker till there's no time on the clock, and you got to win it.
1st and 10, Hamilton. Calvillo looking deep for Winfield. He's open. And Winfield can't haul it in. How does Earl Winfield get that wide open with under 2 minutes to play in a tie football game?
I'll tell you how he does it. The play was designed to go the opposite way. Winfield was a secondary receiver, but the all-pro in Earl Winfield, even though he's on the backside, he's still working hard. And Anthony Calvillo showing some great poise. There's some...
Hey, he's at 50% tonight. He's had a fight to get there. Clock running, a minute and a half. Here comes the blitz. Calvillo gets it away for Thompson. What a catch up the 53-yard line. And that'll bring him close to Hal Patterson's team record for receiving yards in a game.
Well, when it's clutch time, who do you go to? The guy who's on a roll. That's called stemming. Make a move to the inside. Winnipeg in the zone. Defense, Darius Watson's the deep cover guy. And great concentration by Larry Thompson to hang on and stay in bounds.
A gain of 12. He now has 275. Shovel pass. Kalen Hall. He gets to midfield. That'll be a gain of 3.
Stop by Greg Clark.
Well, earlier in the game, Winnipeg interception. It's been that kind of game.
By the way, Hal Patterson also holds the CFL record for yards receiving in the game. 338 for Montreal against Hamilton back in 1956. Wow. 2nd and 7. Calvillo had it knocked down the line. Leonard Johnson knocked it down. 39 seconds left in overtime. Hamilton will punt it to Winnipeg, and the Bombers will get a shot to win it.
Leonard Johnson comes in there, and it's a good job, and the offensive lineman gets so frustrated because Dave Richardson, who was was injured, does a superb job of blocking, and then he watches his man jump up and bat that ball down. Frustrating for the O-line, but if you're blocked, you got to get your hands up. Leonard Johnson did a nice job.
Leonard Johnson will be best known perhaps for
Somebody has stopped me.
Somebody stop me, he says. He was part of that 8-for-8 deal between Edmonton and Toronto. Now Osbaldiston to punt. Oh, they very nearly got in, and Osbaldiston drilled it. Flag is down. Osbaldiston was knocked down. And Tim Daniel stopped at the 25. But that should be a first down for the Ticats.
Well, that is the play of the football game.
And look at Cal Murphy. He is absolutely beside himself. I'll tell you what. A 45-yard punt negated.
Well,
Cal is hot. And you heard Cal say, we got to get a stop.
We saw Gerard Bolden come in there, but I don't think it was him that got the penalty.
Contacting the kicker, 36 Winnipeg. 10-yard penalty, first down.
The penalty is on Paul Randolph.
Well, here's a look at the play right here. You see Osbaldiston going to kick it. Bolden's the first one there, and Henning is running his man back. Well,
Osbaldiston kept that leg in the air for an extra second. That probably did it. Don't look now. First and 10, Hamilton from the 45. They give to Kalen Hall, and he gets down to the 40. They're already in field goal range. A gain of 5 for Kalen Hall.
and now you're going to see Hamilton just try and work the ball to the middle of the field to make sure Paul Osbaldiston has a straight shot at kicking the winning field goal, because he has leg strength to definitely make it, and even if he misses, he can still get the single.
Man.
Huge penalty.
Clock is running. The give goes to Hall, who dives straight ahead, gets down to the 38. And with 8 seconds left to go in the second overtime half, Paul Osbaldiston will have a chance to win it for the Hamilton Ticats. Hamilton with a chance to go to 6-3, even with Edmonton and Baltimore, with the third best record in the league.
And they get a 6-point advantage on these Winnipeg Blue Bombers and start to pull away from the rest of the pack.
I would suggest that both these teams will look back to this game as being the turning point in their season. Troy Westwood is in the end zone along with Bob Cameron. Alan Boyko is there as well in case Osbaldiston misses.
Here we go.
Last play of the game. Osbaldiston puts it up. And Hamilton wins it. Paul Osbaldiston with a 45-yard field goal. And the Hamilton Ticats have ended their 6-game losing streak against Winnipeg in a thriller at the Winnipeg Stadium.
And Cal Murphy is livid at the officials for that last penalty on Paul Randolph. So Paul Osbaldiston draws the penalty to get him the first down and then nails the winning field goal for these Hamilton Tiger Cats.
36.